There exists a mystical key that has been guarded for centuries by the great sages of humanity. A key that opens the doors to all possibilities and allows you to manifest any reality you desire. This is not merely a metaphor, but a scientific truth, proven by modern neuroscience and quantum physics. In the Scholar's Key, you will discover that within your conscious and subconscious mind lies an extraordinary power, the same power that the great masters, inventors, and visionaries throughout history have used to shape reality and create the impossible. You don't need special abilities or supernatural gifts. You need only to understand how the quantum field of consciousness works and how to reprogram your mind to operate at higher frequencies. This book reveals ancient secrets combined with the latest scientific discoveries about manifestation, neuroplasticity, and consciousness transformation. You will learn how your thoughts create your reality through electromagnetic vibrations, how your emotions program your genes, and how you can literally rewrite the code of your existence. More than theories, this is a practical manual for awakening the scholar that exists within you, the one who possesses the key to transcend limitations, manifest abundance, and live an extraordinary life. Prepare to discover that you are far more powerful than you ever imagined. Chapter 1: The Awakening of the Inner Scholar. Within every human being lies dormant the greatest treasure of all creation, a mind capable of reshaping reality itself. Today, you begin the journey to claim what has always been yours. The moment. Everything changes. Right now, as you read these words, something extraordinary is happening within you. Deep in the neural networks of your brain, new connections are forming. Your consciousness is expanding to receive information that will forever change how you see yourself and your infinite potential. This is not coincidence. This is destiny calling. You have been drawn to this knowledge because somewhere within you, an ancient part of your being remembers a profound truth. You are not just a passive observer of life, but its active creator. You possess within your mind the same power that has shaped civilizations, birthed innovations, and transformed the impossible into reality throughout human history. This power has a name. It is the consciousness of the scholar, that elevated aspect of your being that transcends ordinary thinking and operates from a place of infinite possibility. Today, you begin the sacred journey of awakening this scholar within you, the scholar throughout history. Since the dawn of human consciousness, there have been individuals who seemed to possess an almost supernatural ability to bend reality to their will. They were the inventors, the visionaries, the healers, and the leaders who changed the course of history. What made them different wasn't luck, genetics, or external circumstances. What made them extraordinary was their ability to access and operate from a higher level of consciousness, the consciousness of the scholar. Consider Leonardo da Vinci, whose mind conceived flying machines centuries before they became reality. Or Nikola Tesla, who could see complete inventions in his mind before building this in the physical world. Think of the ancient alchemists, who understood that transformation begins within consciousness itself. Or the mystics who demonstrated that the laws of physics bend to elevated states of being. These individuals shared a common secret. They had learned to transcend the limitations of ordinary thinking and access what we now understand to be the quantum field of infinite possibilities. They had awakened their inner scholar. But here's what's truly remarkable, and what changes everything for you. This capacity isn't reserved for a chosen few. Modern neuroscience has proven that every human brain possesses the same neural architecture. Every mind has the ability to access these elevated states of consciousness. The only difference between those who live extraordinary lives and those who don't is whether they've learned to activate this innate potential. The science of the extraordinary mind. Your brain is not just an organ. It's the most sophisticated manifestation technology in the known universe. Every thought you think creates electrical patterns. Every emotion you feel generates electromagnetic signatures. Every intention you hold sends vibrational frequencies into the quantum field that surrounds and interpenetrates all matter. Recent discoveries in neuroplasticity have shattered the old belief that the brain is fixed and unchangeable after childhood. We now know that your brain is constantly rewiring itself based on your thoughts, emotions, and experiences. This means you have the power to literally reshape your neural architecture to support any reality you choose to create. When you learn to think, feel, and act from the consciousness of the scholar, you begin to operate from what neuroscientists call gamma brain wave states. The same frequency patterns found in the minds of advanced meditators, creative geniuses, and individuals experiencing profound insights. In these states, your brain becomes coherent, synchronized, and capable of accessing information and possibilities that remain invisible to ordinary consciousness. But the true magic happens when you understand that your brain doesn't just receive reality, it creates it. Every thought you think is a creative act. Every emotion you feel is a vibrational command to the universe. Every belief you hold is a filter that determines what becomes possible in your experience. The sleeping giant. Within, most people live their entire lives operating from what we might call survival consciousness, a state of being focused on problems, limitations, and past experiences. They think the same thoughts day after day, feel the same emotions repeatedly, and consequently create the same life experiences over and over again. They remain asleep to their true nature. But you are different. The very fact that these words resonate within you is proof that your inner scholar is stirring to life. You can feel it, can't you? That subtle sense of recognition, as if you're remembering something you've always known but temporarily forgotten. Your inner scholar is that part of you that has never been limited by your past experiences. It's the aspect of your consciousness that remains connected to infinite intelligence and unlimited potential. It knows that you are not your circumstances, your history, or your current identity. It understands that you are pure consciousness, temporarily focused through the lens of a human experience, but capable of transcending any limitation. This scholar within you has been waiting patiently for this moment. The moment when you would finally be ready to claim your birthright as a conscious creator of reality. The last transformation begins. Now, as you read these words, something profound is already shifting within you. Your brain is beginning to form new neural networks. Your heart is opening to new possibilities. Your entire electromagnetic signature is starting to change. You see, transformation doesn't begin with action. It begins with a shift in consciousness. It begins with the recognition that you are infinitely more powerful than you've been taught to believe. It begins with the understanding that the life you've been living is just one of countless possibilities available to you. Every great leader, innovator, and visionary in history began their journey of transformation with a similar moment of recognition. They awakened to the truth that reality is malleable, that consciousness is creative, and that human potential is limitless. They stopped being victims of their circumstances and became masters of their destiny. Right now, you stand at the threshold of the same transformation. The question is not whether you have the ability to change your life. You absolutely do. The question is whether you're willing to step into the fullness of who you really are. The scholar's first understanding. Scholar within you understands 3 fundamental truths that will serve as the foundation for everything that follows. First, you are not separate from the creative force of the universe. You are its unique expression. The same intelligence that spins galaxies and grows flowers from seeds is the intelligence that animates your being. When you align with this truth, you gain access to unlimited creative power. Second, your current reality is not fixed. It's the result of unconscious programming that can be changed. Every limitation you've accepted, every belief that constrains you, every pattern that keeps you small is simply learned programming that can be updated. Your past does not determine your future unless you allow it to. Third, the moment you truly understand your creative power and begin to use it consciously, reality begins to reorganize itself around your new level of consciousness. Synchronicities multiply, opportunities appear, and what once seemed impossible becomes inevitable. The journey of awakening. Over the coming chapters, you will learn the precise methods for awakening and embodying the consciousness of the scholar. You will discover how to reprogram your subconscious mind, how to harness the power of elevated emotions, how to create quantum leaps in your reality, and how to maintain the frequency of abundance and possibility regardless of external circumstances. But the journey begins here, in this moment, with a simple but profound choice. The choice to stop accepting a limited version of yourself and begin exploring the infinite potential that lives within you. Your inner scholar is no longer sleeping. It has awakened to the truth of who you are and what you're capable of creating. The only question that remains is how extraordinary you're willing to allow your life to become. As you close this chapter and prepare to delve deeper into this sacred knowledge, take a moment to feel the shift that's already occurring within you. Notice how something has changed in your energy, in your sense of possibility, in your connection to your own unlimited potential. You are no longer the same person who began reading this chapter. You have taken the first step into a larger version of yourself. The version that has always known you are capable of creating miracles. The scholar within you is awakening. Your extraordinary life is about to begin. The moment you realize you are not a drop in the ocean, but the entire ocean in a drop, everything changes. Welcome to your awakening. Chapter 2. The Science of Conscious Manifestation. Your thoughts are not mere electrical impulses. They are creative forces that literally sculpt reality at the quantum level. Understanding this changes everything. The revolutionary discovery, what if I told you that everything you've been taught about the nature of reality is incomplete? What if the most important discovery in human history is happening right now, in laboratories around the world, proving that consciousness doesn't just observe reality, it creates it? For centuries, we've operated under the illusion that we are separate from the world around us, that thoughts are private events confined to our skulls, and that we must work within the limitations of a fixed, unchangeable reality. This belief has kept humanity functioning far below its true potential, living as victims of circumstances rather than as conscious creators of experience. But something extraordinary is happening. The boundaries between ancient wisdom and modern science are dissolving, revealing a truth so profound that it's literally rewriting our understanding of human potential. The mystics were right all along. Consciousness is the fundamental creative force of the universe, and you possess the ability to consciously direct this force to manifest any reality you choose. Welcome to the science of conscious manifestation, the understanding that will liberate you from the prison of limitation and awaken you to your true nature as a quantum creator. The quantum field of infinite possibilities. At the foundation of all physical reality lies what physicists call the quantum field, an invisible ocean of energy and information from which all matter emerges. This field is not empty space, as once believed, but rather a dynamic, intelligent medium that responds to consciousness itself. Every atom in your body, every cell in your brain, every thought you think exists within this field. But here's where it becomes truly remarkable. The quantum field doesn't just contain possibilities. It contains all possibilities simultaneously. Every potential future you could ever imagine, every dream you've ever held, every version of yourself you've ever envisioned already exists within this field as pure potential, waiting for your consciousness to collapse it into physical reality. This isn't metaphysical speculation. It's established quantum physics. The observer effect, first discovered in the famous double-slit experiment, proves that consciousness plays a fundamental role in determining which possibility becomes reality. When you observe or measure a quantum system, you literally cause it to collapse from a state of infinite potential into a specific outcome. Now imagine applying this understanding to your life. Your focused attention, charged with clear intention and elevated emotion, acts as the observer that collapses infinite possibilities into the specific reality you desire. You are not just living in a quantum universe. You are a quantum being with quantum creative abilities. The electromagnetic, your brain is not just a thinking organ. It's a sophisticated electromagnetic broadcasting station. Every thought you think creates measurable electrical activity. Every emotion you feel generates a magnetic field that extends beyond your physical body. Together, these electrical and magnetic components create your personal electromagnetic signature, your unique energetic broadcast to the quantum field. This is where the science becomes absolutely transformational. Your electromagnetic signature doesn't just reflect your inner state. It attracts experiences, people, and opportunities that match its frequency. Like attracts like, at the most fundamental level of reality. This is why people who consistently think abundance thoughts and feel grateful emotions tend to experience abundant lives, while those stuck in patterns of lack and fear continue to manifest scarcity. But here's what changes everything. You can consciously change your electromagnetic signature. When you learn to think new thoughts and feel elevated emotions on a consistent basis, you literally broadcast a new signal to the quantum field. And when you change your signal, you change what you attract. Modern neuroscience has discovered that your brain produces different types of electromagnetic frequencies depending on your state of consciousness. When you're stressed, worried, or operating in survival mode, your brain generates chaotic, incoherent wave patterns. But when you enter states of coherence, through meditation, gratitude, love, or other elevated emotions, your brain waves become organized, synchronized, and powerfully focused. These coherent brain states are the key to conscious manifestation. In coherence, your thoughts become more powerful, your intentions more focused, and your ability to influence the quantum field dramatically enhanced. Rewiring reality through neuroplasticity. Perhaps the most empowering discovery in modern neuroscience is neuroplasticity, the brain's ability to reorganize itself throughout your entire life. Every time you learn something new, every time you have a novel experience, every time you think a thought you've never thought before, your brain literally rewires itself by forming new neural connections. This means that no matter what your past programming has been, no matter what limiting beliefs you've carried, no matter what patterns have defined your life up until this moment, you have the power to create new neural pathways that support any reality you choose to experience. When you repeatedly think thoughts of abundance, your brain creates and strengthens neural networks of abundance. When you consistently feel emotions of joy and gratitude, you develop stronger neural pathways for joy and gratitude. When you regularly visualize your desired future with clarity and emotion, you literally train your brain to recognize and create opportunities that align with that vision. But here's where it becomes truly profound. Your brain doesn't distinguish between what you vividly imagine and what you actually experience. When you create detailed mental rehearsals of your desired reality, complete with rich sensory details and elevated emotions, your nervous system responds as if those experiences are actually happening. This primes your brain to notice and act upon opportunities that support the manifestation of what you've been mentally rehearsing. The subconscious programming center, while your conscious mind can hold about 7 pieces of information at any given time, your subconscious mind processes approximately 11 million bits of information per second. It's the subconscious that runs the majority of your life, controlling your automatic behaviors, emotional reactions, beliefs about what's possible, and habitual thought patterns. Here's the critical insight. Your subconscious mind doesn't judge or analyze the information it receives. It simply accepts whatever you repeatedly think and feel as truth, then works tirelessly to create external experiences that match your internal programming. This is why people often manifest what they don't want, because they spend more time thinking about and feeling their problems than they do focusing on their desired solutions. But when you understand how to consciously program your subconscious mind with new information through repetition, emotional intensity, and vivid mental imagery, you transform it from an unconscious creator of unwanted experiences into a powerful ally in manifesting your dreams. The key is consistency and emotional engagement. Your subconscious responds most readily to information that comes with strong emotional content, because emotion is the language that speaks directly to this deeper level of mind. When you combine clear intention with elevated emotion and repeat this combination consistently, you literally reprogram your internal operating system to support the manifestation of your desires. The heart-brain connection. Recent discoveries at the Institute of Heart Math have revealed something extraordinary. Your heart is not just a pump, but a sophisticated information processing center with its own neural network of over 40,000 neurons. The heart actually sends more information to the brain than it receives, and the electromagnetic field generated by the heart is 5,000 times stronger than that of the brain. When you experience elevated emotions like gratitude, love, appreciation, or joy, your heart rhythm becomes coherent, organized, and harmonious. This heart coherence creates a powerful electromagnetic signal that synchronizes your entire nervous system, enhances your brain's ability to process information, and dramatically amplifies your power to influence the quantum field. This is why the ancient wisdom traditions have always emphasized the importance of the heart in spiritual and creative endeavors. They understood intuitively what science is now proving. The heart is the key to accessing higher states of consciousness and enhanced manifestation abilities when you learn to generate heart coherence on command by intentionally feeling emotions of gratitude, love, or appreciation. You shift your entire physiology into a state that supports conscious creation. Your brain waves become more coherent, your nervous system relaxes, your immune function improves, and your ability to attract positive experiences increases exponentially. The observer and the observed. At the quantum level, there is no real separation between the observer and the observed, between consciousness and matter, between you and the reality you're creating. This non-local connection means that your consciousness can influence matter at a distance, that your intentions can affect outcomes before you take physical action, and that your elevated emotional states can literally reorganize the energy around you to support your desires. This is why focused meditation, prayer, and visualization have been shown to produce measurable effects, not just on the practitioner, but on their environment and circumstances. When you maintain a clear intention combined with elevated emotion, you create what scientists call non-local effects, changes in reality that occur beyond the boundaries of your physical body. The implications are staggering. You are not separate from the universe. You are the universe expressing itself as a unique point of consciousness. When you change your inner state, you change your relationship with the entire field of existence. When you elevate your consciousness, you literally elevate the vibrational frequency of everything you touch. Becoming a conscious creator. Understanding the science of conscious manifestation is just the beginning. The real transformation occurs when you begin to apply these principles consistently in your daily life. This means taking responsibility for your thoughts, emotions, and energy throughout each day. It means recognizing that every moment offers you the opportunity to broadcast a new signal to the quantum field. The ancient alchemists had a saying, "As above, so below, as within, so without." They understood that external reality is always a reflection of internal consciousness. When you change what's happening within you, your thoughts, emotions, beliefs, and energy, you automatically change what manifests around you. This is not about positive thinking or wishful hoping. This is about understanding the fundamental mechanics of reality creation and learning to work with these natural laws consciously and skillfully. Just as you can learn to play a musical instrument or master a sport through practice and repetition, you can learn to master the art of conscious manifestation. The key is to begin with small, believable changes while you build your confidence and skill. Start by consciously creating more joy in your day, more synchronicities in your week, more abundance in your month. As you prove to yourself that you truly do have the power to influence your reality through consciousness, you'll naturally expand your vision and begin creating more significant transformations. Your quantum inheritance. You were born with the complete capacity for conscious manifestation. Every human being possesses the same fundamental neural architecture, the same connection to the quantum field, the same ability to generate coherent electromagnetic signatures. The only difference between those who live extraordinary lives and those who don't is awareness and application of these principles. Your DNA contains the same creative potential that exists in every master, every genius, every visionary who has ever lived. The quantum field responds to your consciousness with the same precision and power that it has responded to every conscious creator throughout history. You have inherited the complete technology for transformation. You simply need to learn how to use it. As you continue this journey, remember that you are not learning something new. You are remembering something ancient. You are awakening to the truth of who you have always been, beneath the layers of social conditioning and limited programming. You are a quantum being, capable of quantum leaps in every area of your life. The science is clear, the technology is available, and the field is responding to your elevated consciousness even now. Your extraordinary life is not just possible. It's inevitable when you align with these fundamental principles of conscious creation. The moment you understand that you are not in the universe, but the universe is in you, you realize that you have the power to change everything simply by changing yourself. Chapter 3. Reprogramming the Mental Operating System. Your mind is like a sophisticated computer running outdated software. Today, you learn to upgrade your mental operating system to support the extraordinary life you are meant to live. The hidden code that runs your life right now. As you read these words, there's an invisible program running in the background of your consciousness that's determining what you notice, how you interpret events, what you believe is possible, and ultimately what you create in your life. This program wasn't written by you. It was installed during your earliest years through repetition, emotional intensity, and unconscious absorption of the beliefs and limitations of those around you. This is your mental operating system, and for most people, it's running on severely outdated software. It's filled with bugs, viruses of limitation, and programming that was designed for survival in a world that no longer exists. The tragic result: brilliant, capable human beings living far below their potential, unconsciously recreating the same patterns and limitations generation after generation. But here's the revolutionary truth that changes everything. You have the power to completely reprogram your mental operating system. You can identify and delete the limiting code that's been running your life. Install new programming that supports your highest aspirations, and literally rewire your brain to operate from a foundation of unlimited possibility. This is not metaphor. This is the cutting-edge understanding of how consciousness actually works. Your brain is the most sophisticated programmable device in existence, and you hold the master key to its transformation. The architecture of limitation. To understand how to reprogram your mental operating system, you first need to understand how limiting beliefs are installed and maintained. Every belief you hold about yourself, about life, about what's possible or impossible, was created through repetition and emotional reinforcement. As a child, your brain was in what neuroscientists call a super-learning state, highly receptive to programming from your environment. During these critical years, you unconsciously absorbed thousands of beliefs from your parents, teachers, society, and culture. Many of these beliefs were helpful and supportive, but others became invisible chains that have limited your potential ever since. Consider some of the common limiting programs that most people carry. Money doesn't grow on trees. Good things don't last. You have to work hard for everything. Success requires sacrifice. People like us don't achieve great things. Or be realistic about your dreams. These weren't conscious choices you made. They were unconscious downloads that began running automatically in the background of your mind. The insidious nature of these limiting beliefs is that they operate below the threshold of conscious awareness. You don't wake up each morning and consciously decide to limit yourself. Instead, these programs run automatically, filtering your perception, influencing your emotions, and guiding your actions in ways that consistently reinforce the very limitations they represent. But here's what's truly powerful to understand. Every limiting belief is simply a neural pathway that was strengthened through repetition. And anything that was programmed can be reprogrammed. Any neural pathway that was created can be replaced with a new one that serves your highest good. The neuroscience of belief transformation. Your brain contains approximately 86 billion neurons, each capable of forming thousands of connections with other neurons. Every thought you think, every belief you hold, every automatic response you have is represented by specific patterns of neural connectivity. When you think the same thoughts repeatedly, these neural pathways become stronger and more automatic, like well-worn paths through a forest. This is why changing your life often feels so difficult. You're not just trying to think differently. You're attempting to forge new neural pathways while old, well-established patterns continue to pull your consciousness back toward familiar thoughts and behaviors. It's like trying to create a new path through dense underbrush while a superhighway of habit runs parallel to your efforts. But neuroscience has discovered something remarkable. Focused attention combined with emotional intensity can rapidly create new neural pathways while weakening old ones. When you consciously direct your attention toward new thoughts and support them with elevated emotions, you literally begin rewiring your brain in real time. This process is called neuroplasticity, and it's active throughout your entire life. Every time you choose a new thought over an old one, every time you respond differently to a familiar trigger, every time you consciously interrupt an automatic pattern, you're physically reshaping your brain's architecture. You're not just changing your mind. You're changing your brain. The key is understanding that transformation requires both conscious intention and emotional energy. Thoughts alone, without feeling, have limited power to create lasting change. But when you combine new thoughts with elevated emotions like excitement, gratitude, love, or joy, you create the neurochemical conditions that support rapid neural reorganization, identifying your unconscious programming. Before you can reprogram limiting beliefs, you must first identify them. This requires developing the ability to observe your thoughts and emotional reactions with the detached awareness of a scientist studying an interesting phenomenon. Most people are so identified with their thoughts and emotions that they cannot see the patterns that are running their lives. The most effective way to identify limiting programming is to examine the areas of your life where you consistently experience struggle, frustration, or stagnation. These patterns are usually the external manifestation of internal beliefs that are operating below conscious awareness. For example, if you consistently struggle with money, there are likely unconscious beliefs about scarcity, unworthiness, or the difficulty of creating wealth running in the background of your mind. If you have difficulty in relationships, there may be hidden programming about trust, abandonment, or your own lovability that's creating these patterns. Pay attention to the voice of your inner critic, that internal commentary that judges, doubts, and argues for limitation. This voice is often a direct expression of limiting programming that was installed early in your life. The thoughts that seem most realistic or practical are often the ones that are actually limiting your potential. Notice the emotional reactions that seem to arise automatically in certain situations. If you consistently feel anxious about taking risks, frustrated when things don't go as planned, or defeated when facing challenges, these emotional patterns are clues to underlying beliefs that are shaping your experience. The goal is not to judge or resist these patterns, but to observe them with curiosity and compassion. They served a purpose at one time. usually to keep you safe or help you fit in. But what served you in the past may now be limiting your future, and it's time for an upgrade. The technology of belief transformation. Once you've identified a limiting belief, the process of transformation involves 3 essential steps: disruption, installation, and integration. Each step utilizes specific technologies of consciousness that work with your brain's natural learning mechanisms. Disruption involves consciously interrupting the automatic pattern of the limiting belief. The moment you notice yourself thinking a limiting thought or feeling a constrictive emotion, you pause, take a deep breath, and consciously choose to step out of the pattern. You might say to yourself, "That's the old programming. I choose to think differently now." This interruption is crucial because it breaks the automatic flow of the neural pathway, creating a moment of choice where transformation becomes possible. Without this conscious disruption, the old pattern will continue to run automatically, strengthening itself with each repetition. Installation involves consciously introducing new, empowering thoughts and beliefs to replace the old programming. This is where you actively choose thoughts that support your highest potential. Instead of, "I'm not good with money," you might consciously think, "I am learning to master the flow of abundance in my life." Instead of, "Good things don't happen to people like me," you might choose, "I am worthy of extraordinary experiences and unlimited success." The key is to make these new thoughts feel as real and true as possible by engaging your emotions. Don't just think the new thought. Feel what it would be like if this empowering belief were already your lived reality. The more emotion you can generate around the new programming, the more rapidly it will integrate into your neural architecture. Integration involves consistently reinforcing the new programming until it becomes automatic. This requires vigilance and practice. Every time the old pattern tries to resurface, you gently redirect your attention back to the new belief. Every day, you spend time consciously thinking and feeling from the perspective of your new, empowering programming. This is not about forcing yourself to believe something that feels untrue. It's about gradually expanding your sense of what's possible and training your mind to operate from a more empowering foundation. As you consistently practice thinking and feeling from your new beliefs, they begin to feel more natural and automatic. The emotional alchemy of transformation, understanding the role of emotions in belief. Transformation is crucial to your success. Emotions are not just feelings. They are sophisticated information processing systems that communicate directly with your subconscious mind. The emotional charge around a belief determines how deeply it's embedded in your neural architecture and how powerfully it influences your behavior. Most limiting beliefs were installed during moments of high emotional intensity, often fear, shame, disappointment, or hurt. These strong emotions acted like neural cement, locking the limiting thoughts into your subconscious programming. To transform these beliefs, you need to match or exceed that emotional intensity with empowering emotions. This is where the practice of emotional alchemy becomes essential. You learn to consciously generate elevated emotions like gratitude, excitement, love, joy, and enthusiasm, then use these high-frequency emotional states to install new, empowering beliefs. When you can think a new thought while feeling genuine excitement about the possibilities it represents, you create the optimal conditions for rapid neural reorganization. The ancient alchemists understood this principle when they spoke of transmuting base metals into gold. They weren't just talking about physical transformation. They were describing the process of using elevated consciousness to transform limiting mental and emotional patterns into empowering ones. Practice generating specific emotions on command. When you want to install a belief about abundance, cultivate the feeling of gratitude for what you already have and excitement about what's coming. When you're programming confidence, generate the feeling of personal power and self-appreciation. When you're working with beliefs about love and relationships, open your heart and feel genuine love and appreciation for yourself and others. Remember, your subconscious mind responds to the feeling behind your thoughts more than the thoughts themselves. An empowering thought without genuine emotion has limited transformational power, but an empowering thought charged with authentic, elevated emotion can create instant and lasting change in your neural programming. The repetition revolution. The human brain learns through repetition, and lasting transformation requires consistent practice over time. Just as you didn't develop your current beliefs overnight, transforming them requires patience and persistence. But here's the empowering truth. Conscious, intentional repetition works much faster than the unconscious programming that originally created your limitations. When you consciously repeat new thoughts and feelings with emotional intensity and focused attention, you can create new neural pathways in days or weeks that would normally take months or years to develop through unconscious repetition. This is the power of conscious evolution. You can dramatically accelerate your transformation by working skillfully with your brain's natural learning mechanisms. Create daily practices that reinforce your new programming. Spend time each morning consciously thinking and feeling from your empowering beliefs. Throughout the day, catch yourself when old patterns arise and gently redirect your attention to your new programming. Before sleep, review your day from the perspective of your evolving identity and set intentions for continued transformation. The key is consistency rather than perfection. You don't need to maintain your new programming every moment of every day. You simply need to consistently choose your new thoughts and feelings more often than your old ones. Each time you make this choice, you strengthen the neural pathways of your new identity while weakening the old patterns that no longer serve you. Living from your new operating system, as your new mental programming becomes more established, you'll begin to notice profound shifts in your daily experience. Opportunities that were previously invisible will become apparent. Solutions to old problems will emerge spontaneously. Your energy levels will increase and your sense of possibility will expand. This is not magic. It's the natural result of upgrading your mental operating system. When your brain is running more empowering software, it processes information differently, notices different things, and generates different responses to life's challenges and opportunities. You'll find yourself naturally taking actions that align with your new beliefs. Decisions that once seemed difficult will become obvious. Fears that once paralyzed you will lose their power. You'll begin living from a foundation of possibility rather than limitation, abundance rather than scarcity, love rather than fear. Remember, this transformation is not a destination, but an ongoing journey. Your mental operating system can always be upgraded, refined, and expanded. As you grow and evolve, you can continue installing new programming that supports even greater levels of success, happiness, and fulfillment. The most successful people in history were not those born with superior programming. They were those who learned to consciously reprogram themselves for success. They understood that their thoughts, beliefs, and emotional patterns were not fixed aspects of their personality. but malleable software that could be updated to support any goal or vision they chose to pursue. You now possess this same understanding and these same tools. Your mental operating system is ready for its most significant upgrade yet. The only question remaining is, what extraordinary life will you program yourself to create? The moment you realize that your thoughts are not happening to you, but are being created by you, you reclaim the power to transform every aspect of your existence. Field around you. This isn't poetry, it's measurable science. Researchers at the Institute of Heart Math have documented that coherent heart rhythms create measurable effects on the environment around the individual, including the ability to influence other people's heart rhythms, reduce stress in nearby individuals, and even affect the growth patterns of plants. But here's where it becomes truly extraordinary. When your heart enters coherence through elevated emotions, it synchronizes your entire nervous system. Your brain waves become more ordered, your immune function improves, your stress hormones decrease, and your cognitive abilities enhance. You literally shift your entire physiology into a state that supports optimal health, clarity, and creative power. Even more remarkable is that sustained heart coherence appears to affect what researchers call global consciousness, the collective electromagnetic field generated by all human hearts and minds. When enough individuals enter coherent states simultaneously, measurable changes occur in the Earth's electromagnetic field itself. You are not just creating your personal reality. You are contributing to the collective reality experienced by all humanity. This means that every time you consciously generate elevated emotions, you're not only transforming your own life, but contributing to the elevation of global consciousness. Your personal practice of emotional mastery becomes an act of service to the entire human family. The vibrational spectrums of human experience, every emotion you're capable of experiencing, corresponds to a specific electromagnetic frequency. Just as radio stations broadcast on different frequencies, your emotions broadcast different vibrational signatures into the quantum field. The frequency you're broadcasting determines what you're capable of attracting and manifesting in your life. At the lower end of the emotional spectrum are what we might call survival emotions: fear, anger, shame, guilt, frustration, and despair. These emotions served important evolutionary functions. They helped our ancestors survive physical threats and navigate dangerous social situations. But when these emotions become your dominant broadcast frequency, they attract experiences that match their vibrational signature: conflict, scarcity, illness, and limitation. At the higher end of the spectrum are the elevated emotions: love, gratitude, joy, excitement, enthusiasm, wonder, and appreciation. These emotions broadcast frequencies of abundance, health, creativity, and possibility. When you consistently operate from these elevated emotional states, you naturally attract experiences, people, and opportunities that resonate with these higher frequencies. But here's what's truly transformational. You have the power to choose your emotional frequency regardless of your external circumstances. This choice, to feel gratitude before you have something to be grateful for, to feel love before you're in a loving relationship, to feel abundant before abundance appears in your life, is what separates conscious creators from unconscious reactors. When you learn to generate elevated emotions independent of external conditions, you reverse the normal cause and effect relationship. Instead of waiting for something good to happen so you can feel good, you feel good first and thereby cause good things to happen. This is the fundamental principle of emotional mastery and conscious manifestation. The alchemy of emotional transformation. Most people live their emotional lives unconsciously, reacting to circumstances with automatic emotional patterns that were programmed during childhood. They feel angry when things don't go their way, fearful when facing uncertainty, frustrated when progress seems slow, and victimized when life presents challenges. But what if you could transform your emotional reactions into conscious emotional creations? What if you could learn to respond to any situation with emotions that empower rather than diminish you? This is the ancient art of emotional alchemy, the conscious transformation of lower frequency emotions into higher frequency ones. The key to emotional alchemy is understanding that emotions are not fixed reactions but fluid energies that can be consciously directed and transformed. When you feel a survival emotion arising, instead of being overwhelmed by it or trying to suppress it, you can acknowledge it with compassion and then consciously choose to transmute it into a more elevated state. For example, when you notice fear arising, you can breathe deeply, acknowledge the fear as information about something that matters to you, and then consciously choose to transform that energy into excitement about the possibilities that exist beyond your current comfort zone. When you feel frustrated about slow progress, you can acknowledge the frustration and then transform it into appreciation for the journey and excitement about your growing capabilities. This is not about denial or positive thinking. It's about recognizing that all emotions are forms of energy, and energy can always be transformed when you understand how to work with it consciously. The same intensity that creates overwhelming fear can be redirected to create powerful excitement. The same passion that generates anger can be channeled to create unwavering determination. The practice of emotional alchemy requires developing what we might call emotional fitness, the ability to consciously direct your emotional energy rather than being unconsciously directed by it. Like physical fitness, emotional fitness requires regular practice and gradual development of capacity over time. The science of emotional broadcasting. When you experience an emotion, your heart generates specific electromagnetic patterns that extend beyond your physical body. These patterns carry information about your internal state and broadcast it into the quantum field around you. Like a radio transmitter, you're constantly sending out electromagnetic signals that interact with the field of infinite possibilities. The quantum field responds to the frequency of your emotional broadcast by organizing possibilities that match that frequency. When you consistently broadcast frequencies of abundance through emotions like gratitude and appreciation, the field organizes opportunities, synchronicities, and experiences that align with abundance. When you broadcast frequencies of limitation through emotions like fear and doubt, the field responds by manifesting experiences that confirm those limitations. This is why two people can attend the same networking event and have completely different experiences. One person, broadcasting confidence and enthusiasm, attracts meaningful connections and unexpected opportunities. Another person, broadcasting anxiety and insecurity, experiences awkward interactions and missed opportunities. Same event, different emotional broadcasts, completely different outcomes. Understanding this principle transforms how you approach every aspect of your life. Instead of hoping that external circumstances will make you feel better, you take responsibility for consciously creating the emotional frequency that will attract the circumstances you desire. You become proactive rather than reactive in your emotional life. The key is learning to sustain elevated emotions for extended periods. Brief moments of positive emotion, while beneficial, don't create lasting change in your electromagnetic signature, but when you can maintain coherent, elevated emotional states for extended periods. Through meditation, visualization, gratitude practices, or conscious appreciation, you literally reprogram your default emotional frequency and attract experiences that match your new vibrational set point. Mastering the art of gratitude of all the elevated emotions, gratitude may be the most powerful for manifestation. Gratitude is unique because it can only exist in the present moment, and it inherently acknowledges abundance. When you feel genuine gratitude, you're simultaneously present, positive, and abundant. The perfect vibrational recipe for conscious creation. But most people practice gratitude incorrectly. They wait until they have something to be grateful for before they feel grateful. This reactive approach limits the manifestational power of gratitude because it keeps you dependent on external circumstances for your internal state. True mastery involves practicing what we might call prophetic gratitude, feeling grateful for what you desire before it manifests in your physical reality. This requires a fundamental shift in understanding. Instead of being grateful for what has happened, you become grateful for what is happening in the quantum field of possibilities. When you feel genuine gratitude for the abundance that's flowing toward you, for the opportunities that are organizing around you, for the perfect health that's emerging within you, for the love that's seeking you, you align your electromagnetic signature with these realities at the quantum level. You become a vibrational match for what you're grateful for, dramatically accelerating its manifestation in your physical experience. This practice requires a leap of faith initially, but as you begin to experience the synchronicities and manifestations that result from prophetic gratitude, your faith transforms into knowing. You discover experientially that gratitude is not just a nice feeling. It's a creative force that reshapes reality. The key to mastering gratitude is learning to feel it in your body, not just think it in your mind. True gratitude creates a physical sensation of expansion, warmth, and joy that fills your heart and radiates throughout your entire being. When you can generate this feeling at will, independent of external circumstances, you possess one of the most powerful tools for conscious creation ever discovered. The emotional compass of aligned action, elevated. Emotions serve another crucial function in the manifestation process. They act as a guidance system that helps you recognize and take aligned action. When you're consistently operating from elevated emotional states, you develop a refined sensitivity to the subtle, energetic signals that guide you toward opportunities and experiences that serve your highest good. Most people make decisions based on logic, fear, or social conditioning. But when you learn to use elevated emotions as your compass, you gain access to a more sophisticated decision-making system that takes into account variables your conscious mind cannot possibly process. This emotional guidance system helps you recognize which opportunities to pursue, which relationships to invest in, which directions to explore, and which actions to take. When an opportunity or action is aligned with your highest good, contemplating it generates elevated emotions like excitement, enthusiasm, or inspired motivation. When something is not aligned, you'll feel contraction, resistance, or simply a lack of energetic enthusiasm. Learning to trust and follow this emotional guidance system is one of the most practical applications of emotional mastery. This doesn't mean making impulsive decisions based on momentary feelings. Rather, it means developing the sensitivity to distinguish between reactive emotions, which usually indicate old programming or fear-based thinking, and truly elevated emotions, which indicate alignment with your highest possibilities. The practice involves checking in with your emotional guidance system before making important decisions. Ask yourself, how does this possibility feel in my body? Does contemplating this action generate elevated emotions or contractive ones? What would love do in this situation? What choice would someone operating from my highest potential make? As you learn to trust and follow your emotional guidance system, you'll find that life becomes more effortless and synchronistic. Instead of forcing outcomes through willpower and struggle, you begin to flow with the intelligence of the universe, allowing elevated emotions to guide you toward experiences that align with your deepest intentions and highest good. Living from emotional sovereignty, ultimate goal of mastering elevated emotions is what we might call emotional sovereignty. The ability to consciously choose your emotional state, regardless of external circumstances. This doesn't mean becoming emotionally numb or suppressing natural reactions. Rather, it means developing the capacity to respond to any situation from a place of emotional choice, rather than automatic reactivity. Emotional sovereignty recognizes that your emotional state is your responsibility and your creative power. No person, event, or circumstance can make you feel anything without your unconscious participation. While you cannot always control what happens to you, you can always choose how you respond emotionally, and that choice determines the trajectory of your experience. This level of mastery requires practice, patience, and compassion with yourself as you develop these new capacities. There will be times when old emotional patterns surface, when circumstances challenge your equilibrium, when fear or doubt temporarily override your elevated states. This is natural and part of the learning process. The key is to see these moments not as failures, but as opportunities to strengthen your emotional mastery. Each time you catch yourself in a reactive emotional pattern and consciously choose to shift into a more elevated state, you're literally rewiring your neural circuitry and expanding your capacity for emotional sovereignty. As you develop this mastery, you'll discover something profound. You are not at the mercy of your emotions. You are the master of them. You have the power to feel however you choose to feel, which means you have the power to create whatever you choose to create. Your elevated emotions become the bridge between your current reality and your desired future, the vibrational technology that transforms possibility into actuality. When you truly understand that your emotions are your manifestation tools, that your feelings are your creative currency, that your heart is your connection to infinite intelligence, you step into a completely new relationship with life itself. You become a conscious collaborator with the universe, using the language of elevated emotions to speak your dreams into existence. The moment you realize that feeling good is not the reward for creating a good life, but the method for creating a good life, everything changes. Chapter 5. The Art of Quantum Visualization. Your imagination is not escapism. It is the preview chamber of coming attractions. When you learn to visualize with quantum precision, you literally rehearse your future into existence. The theater of infinite possibilities, hidden within your mind, lies the most sophisticated virtual reality system ever created. A system so advanced that it can generate experiences indistinguishable from physical reality, so powerful that it can literally reshape your neural circuitry, and so precise that it can communicate your deepest desires directly to the quantum field of infinite possibilities. This system is your imagination, and when properly understood and skillfully applied, it becomes the most potent manifestation tool at your disposal. But this isn't the childhood imagination of fantasy and daydreaming. This is quantum visualization, a precise technology of consciousness that allows you to experience your desired future so vividly that your nervous system begins to believe it's already happening. Most people underestimate the power of mental imagery because they think of imagination as just pretending or not real. But neuroscience has revealed something extraordinary. Your brain cannot distinguish between a vividly imagined experience and an actual one. When you create detailed mental rehearsals of your desired future, complete with rich sensory information and elevated emotions, your nervous system responds as if those experiences are actually occurring in the present moment. This neurological phenomenon is the foundation of quantum visualization, the understanding that what you consistently and emotionally visualize becomes the template your brain uses to recognize and create opportunities in your physical reality, the neural architecture of future memory. Time you visualize a desired outcome with clarity and emotional intensity, you create what neuroscientists call synthetic memories, neural patterns that represent experiences you haven't yet had in physical reality, but have lived completely in your imagination. These synthetic memories are indistinguishable from actual memories in terms of their neural structure and their influence on your behavior. When you consistently visualize yourself succeeding in a particular area, your brain begins to wire itself as if you've already experienced that success. You develop the neural pathways of confidence, competence, and achievement before you've actually achieved anything in the external world. This neurological preparation dramatically increases your ability to recognize and act upon opportunities that align with your visualized outcomes. Professional athletes have used this principle for decades. When a basketball player visualizes making free throws hundreds of times, complete with the feeling of the ball in their hands, the sound of the net, and the satisfaction of success, their brain creates neural maps of successful performance. When they step onto the court, their nervous system already knows how to execute the perfect shot because it has been rehearsed thousands of times in their imagination. This same principle applies to every area of life. When you visualize yourself confidently presenting to a boardroom, your brain creates neural pathways of confident presentation skills. When you imagine yourself living in abundance, feeling grateful and generous, your nervous system begins to embody the characteristics of an abundant person. When you repeatedly visualize loving relationships, your brain develops the neural architecture of love, trust, and connection. The key insight is that your future doesn't just happen to you. You can literally train your nervous system to recognize and create the future you desire by repeatedly experiencing it in your imagination with emotional intensity and sensory detail, the quantum field of mental imagery. When you engage in quantum visualization, you're not just creating private mental movies. You're actually transmitting information into the quantum field, that invisible medium of energy and possibility that underlies all physical reality. Your vivid mental images, charged with elevated emotions, create electromagnetic patterns that communicate your intentions to this field with remarkable precision. This is where visualization transcends psychology and enters the realm of quantum physics. Your consciousness doesn't exist only within the confines of your skull. It extends into and interacts with the quantum field around you. When you create detailed visualizations supported by elevated emotions, you're literally projecting a template of your desired reality into this field. The quantum field responds to these templates by organizing possibilities, circumstances, and synchronicities that align with the vibrational pattern of your visualization. It's as if you're placing an order with the universe, using the language of mental imagery and emotion to specify exactly what you want to experience. But here's the crucial understanding. The quantum field responds not to what you think you want, but to what you consistently and emotionally visualize. If your visualizations are weak, inconsistent, or contaminated with doubt and fear, the field receives mixed signals and produces mixed results. But when your visualizations are clear, consistent, and charged with elevated emotions, the field responds with remarkable precision and power. This is why developing skill in quantum visualization is so important. You're literally learning to speak the language that the universe understands. The language of vivid mental imagery combined with coherent emotional energy. The sensory richness of reality creation. People visualize in black and white when they need to be creating in high-definition color. They create vague, flat mental images when they need to be generating rich multisensory experiences. The power of quantum visualization lies not in the general idea of what you want, but in the specific sensory details of experiencing what you want. Your nervous system is designed to respond to sensory information. The more senses you can engage in your visualizations, the more real these experiences become to your brain, and the more powerfully they influence your behavior and your electromagnetic broadcast to the quantum field. When visualizing your ideal living space, don't just see the general layout. Feel the texture of the furniture, smell the fresh flowers on the table, hear the sounds of your neighborhood, taste the coffee you're drinking as you enjoy your morning routine. The richness of sensory detail makes the visualization exponentially more powerful. When imagining career success, include not just the visual of your new office, but the feeling of confidence in your body, the sound of applause after your presentation, the taste of celebration dinner, the smell of success literally in the air around you. These sensory details create what we might call experiential blueprints that your nervous system can follow to create similar experiences. In physical reality, the practice involves systematically engaging each of your senses during visualization. As you create your mental imagery, ask yourself, what am I seeing in detail? What sounds are present? What am I feeling tactilely? What scents or tastes are part of this experience? How does my body feel in this successful state? What emotions am I experiencing? The goal is to make your visualizations so sensorially rich and emotionally engaging that they feel more real than your current circumstances. When you can do this consistently, you literally begin to live from the future you're creating, rather than from the past you've already experienced. The temporal mechanics of manifestation. One of the most powerful aspects of quantum visualization is its ability to collapse time. In the quantum field, all possibilities exist simultaneously in an eternal now. Past, present, and future are constructs of linear thinking that don't exist at the quantum level. When you visualize from this understanding, you're not imagining something that might happen in the future. You're experiencing something that already exists in the field of infinite possibilities. This shift in perspective transforms the entire quality of your visualization practice. Instead of hoping or wishing for something to happen eventually, you're tuning into a reality that already exists and drawing it into your present experience. You become less concerned with when something will manifest and more focused on aligning with the feeling and frequency of what you desire. Professional manifestors understand this principle intuitively. They visualize not from the perspective of someone who wants something, but from the perspective of someone who already has it. They don't visualize to get something. They visualize to become someone. They use their imagination to step into the identity and emotional state of the person who has already achieved what they desire. This temporal shift requires a fundamental change in how you approach visualization. Instead of visualizing your desired outcome as something happening in the future, you experience it as something happening now in a parallel reality that you're choosing to align with. You're not creating something new. You're choosing which of the infinite realities already available in the quantum field you want to experience. This understanding eliminates the desperation and attachment that often sabotage manifestation efforts. When you know that what you desire already exists and is simply waiting for you to align with it, you can relax into the process with confidence and joy rather than struggle and worry. The alchemy of emotional visualization. True power of quantum visualization emerges when you learn to combine vivid mental imagery with elevated emotions. The image provides the template, but the emotion provides the energy that activates the template and broadcasts it into the quantum field. Without emotion, visualization is merely daydreaming. With emotion, it becomes reality creation. The key is learning to generate authentic, elevated emotions during your visualization practice. This isn't about forcing positive feelings or pretending to be happy. It's about genuinely feeling the emotions you would naturally experience if your visualization were already your lived reality. If you're visualizing financial abundance, what would you genuinely feel? Perhaps gratitude for the freedom money provides, excitement about the opportunities it creates, generosity toward others, security about your future, or appreciation for your ability to create wealth. These authentic emotions, when combined with vivid imagery of abundance, create a powerful electromagnetic signal that the quantum field responds to with corresponding experiences. If you're visualizing perfect health, tune in to the emotions of vitality, appreciation for your body, excitement about physical activities you can enjoy, gratitude for your energy and strength, confidence in your body's natural healing abilities. Feel these emotions as if they were arising naturally from your current experience of perfect health. The practice involves first creating the visual imagery, then asking yourself, if this were happening now, how would I feel? Allow those authentic emotions to arise and intensify. Hold both the image and the feeling simultaneously, creating what we might call emotional movies that engage both your visualization and emotional centers. As you develop skill in this practice, you'll discover that you can shift your entire physiological state through emotional visualization. Your body will begin to produce the neurochemicals and hormones associated with your visualized reality. You'll literally begin to embody the biochemistry of success, health, love, or abundance before these conditions manifest in your external circumstances. The architecture of effective visualization, creating powerful visualizations, requires understanding the difference between passive daydreaming and active reality creation. Effective quantum visualization follows certain principles that maximize its impact on your nervous system and its broadcast to the quantum field. Specificity over generality. Instead of visualizing success, create specific scenes of particular successes. Instead of imagining happiness, visualize specific moments and activities that would naturally generate happiness. The more specific your imagery, the more precisely your nervous system can prepare to recognize and create those experiences. First-person perspective. Always visualize from your own eyes, not as if you're watching yourself from the outside. You want to train your nervous system for the actual experience of living your desired reality, not observing it from a distance. Present tense experience. Visualize as if your desired reality is happening now, not as something that will happen in the future. Use present tense language in your internal dialogue. I am experiencing, rather than I will experience. Emotional authenticity. Don't force emotions that feel unnatural. Instead, connect with the emotions that would naturally arise from experiencing what you're visualizing. Let the feelings emerge organically from the richness of your imagined experience. Consistent repetition. Like any skill, visualization becomes more powerful with practice. Daily repetition of your core visualizations builds neural pathways and strengthens your electromagnetic broadcast. Consistency matters more than duration. Better to visualize for 10 minutes daily than for an hour once a week. Progressive expansion. Start with visualizations that feel believable and gradually expand into more ambitious scenarios as your confidence and skill develop. This prevents your logical mind from sabotaging the process with disbelief. Integration and manifestation. Ultimate goal of quantum visualization is not to escape from reality, but to consciously participate in creating it. Your visualization practice should be integrated with aligned action in the physical world. As you develop clarity about what you want through visualization, you'll naturally become more aware of opportunities and inspired actions that support the manifestation of your desires. The most effective approach combines regular visualization, practice with what we might call micro-manifestations, small, easily achievable goals that build your confidence in the process. As you prove to yourself that you can visualize and manifest parking spaces, green lights, unexpected money, or pleasant surprises, you develop the faith and skill to tackle larger manifestations. Remember that visualization is a conversation with the quantum field, not a demand. Approach your practice with a spirit of playful experimentation rather than desperate neediness. The universe responds more readily to joy and excitement than to fear and desperation. As you master the art of quantum visualization, you'll discover that your imagination is not separate from reality. It's the creative workshop where all realities are born. Every invention, every innovation, every transformation in human history began as a vivid image in someone's imagination. You possess this same creative power, and now you have the knowledge to use it consciously and skillfully. Your visualizations are not fantasies. They are blueprints. Your imagination is not escapism. It is engineering. When you understand and apply the principles of quantum visualization, you transform from someone who dreams about a better life to someone who consciously creates one. The future belongs to those who can see it clearly in their imagination, feel it deeply in their heart, and trust it completely in their soul. Chapter 6. Alignment, Thought, Feeling, and Action. When your thoughts, emotions, and actions move in perfect harmony toward a single intention, you become an unstoppable force of creation. This is the secret of all masters. They live in complete alignment with their vision. The Trinity of Manifestation. Imagine a symphony orchestra where every musician plays from a different sheet of music, in different keys at different tempos. The result would be chaos, not music. Now imagine that same orchestra perfectly synchronized, every instrument contributing to a single, magnificent composition. The difference between these two scenarios is the difference between a scattered life of mixed results and a masterful life of consistent manifestation. Within you exists a similar orchestra, the trinity of thought, emotion, and action. When these three forces operate in harmony, aligned toward a single vision, they create what we might call coherent manifestation, a state of being so focused and unified that reality has no choice but to reorganize itself around your intention. Most people live in internal discord. Their thoughts pull them in one direction, their emotions in another, and their actions in yet another. They think about abundance while feeling fearful about money and taking actions that reinforce scarcity. They visualize success while doubting their abilities and continuing behaviors that maintain mediocrity. They dream of love while feeling unworthy and acting in ways that push intimacy away. This internal incoherence creates what physicists call destructive interference, when different waves cancel each other out rather than amplifying each other. The result is a life of struggle, inconsistency, and unfulfilled potential. But when you learn to create coherence between your thoughts, emotions, and actions, you generate what's known as constructive interference, when all waves move in the same direction, dramatically amplifying their collective power. This is the state in which miracles become normal, synchronicities multiply, and what once seemed impossible becomes inevitable. The architecture of internal coherence. Coherence is not simply thinking positive thoughts or feeling good emotions. True coherence is a precise state of internal organization where every aspect of your being is aligned with and supportive of your deepest intentions. It's a state of such internal unity that your entire electromagnetic signature broadcasts a single, clear signal to the quantum field. This coherence begins with clarity of intention. You cannot align what you have not clearly defined. Most people struggle with manifestation not because they lack power, but because they lack precision. They have vague wishes rather than clear intentions, general hopes rather than specific visions, scattered energy rather than focused purpose. The first step in creating coherence is developing what we might call crystalline clarity about what you truly desire to experience, become, and create. This goes beyond surface, wants to touch the deeper longings of your soul. What do you really want to feel every day? How do you want to show up in the world? What legacy do you want to create? What experiences would make your heart sing with gratitude? Once you have this clarity, coherence becomes the practice of ensuring that every thought you think, every emotion you cultivate, and every action you take either supports or moves you toward this vision. Anything that doesn't serve your highest intention becomes an opportunity for realignment. This doesn't mean perfection. It means conscious choice. Every moment offers you the opportunity to ask, does this thought support my vision or detract from it? Does this emotion align with who I'm becoming or pull me back toward who I used to be? Does this action move me toward my intention or away from it? The science of synchronized states. When your thoughts, emotions, and actions align around a single intention, remarkable changes occur in your physiology. Your brain waves become more coherent. Your heart rhythm stabilizes into optimal patterns. Your nervous system shifts from survival mode to creation mode, and your entire body begins producing the biochemistry of your desired state. Research in neuroscience has shown that coherent states are characterized by synchronized brain activity across multiple regions. Instead of different parts of your brain operating independently or in conflict, they begin working together as a unified system. This neurological coherence enhances cognitive function, improves decision-making, increases creativity, and dramatically amplifies your ability to recognize and act upon opportunities. Simultaneously, coherent states create what the HeartMath Institute calls physiological coherence. Optimal functioning of your cardiovascular, nervous, and hormonal systems. Your heart rate variability becomes smooth and ordered. Your stress hormones decrease. Your immune function improves. and your body shifts into a state of regeneration and renewal. But perhaps most importantly, this internal coherence creates what we might call electromagnetic coherence. Your entire biofield becomes organized around your intention, broadcasting a clear, powerful signal into the quantum field. Instead of sending mixed messages to the universe, you become a focused transmitter of your desired reality. This coherent electromagnetic signature appears to organize matter and energy in your environment to support the manifestation of your intention. It's as if your aligned state creates a field of influence that draws opportunities, synchronicities, and resources toward you with magnetic precision. The thought component, mental discipline. The first element of the coherence trinity is mastery of your mental activity. This doesn't mean controlling every thought, an impossible task that would only create tension. Rather, it means developing the capacity to consciously direct your mental focus toward thoughts that support your highest vision. Mental discipline begins with awareness. Throughout your day, notice where your mind naturally goes when left to its own devices. Does it drift toward worry and problems? Does it rehash past events or anxiously project future scenarios? Does it engage in criticism, judgment, or limitation? This awareness, without judgment, is the foundation of mental mastery. Once you develop awareness of your mental patterns, you can begin the practice of conscious redirection. When you notice your mind engaging in thoughts that don't serve your vision, you gently but firmly redirect your attention toward thoughts that do. This isn't forced positive thinking. It's intelligent thinking, choosing to focus your mental energy on what you want to create rather than what you want to avoid. The most effective approach is to develop what we might call visionary thinking, thoughts that consistently remind you of who you're becoming and what you're creating. Instead of thinking about problems, you think about solutions. Instead of focusing on current limitations, you contemplate expanding possibilities. Instead of dwelling on past failures, you envision future successes. This mental discipline extends to the language you use, both internally and externally. Words are creative forces that shape your reality through both their neurological impact on your brain and their vibrational impact on the quantum field. When you consistently speak and think in the language of your desired reality, using words like abundance, health, love, success, and possibility, you literally program your consciousness for these experiences. The practice involves monitoring your internal dialogue and consciously choosing language that aligns with your vision. Instead of, "I can't afford it," you might think, "I'm creating abundance." Instead of, "This always happens to me," you might think, "I'm learning to create different results." Instead of, "I hope this works," you might think, "I know this is working perfectly." The emotional component, energetic alignment. While thoughts provide direction, emotions provide the energy that activates and amplifies your manifestation power. Emotional alignment means consistently cultivating and maintaining emotional states that match the frequency of your desired reality. This is where many people struggle because they've been conditioned to let their emotions be reactive, determined by external circumstances rather than internal choice. They feel good when good things happen and feel bad when challenging things occur. This reactive approach to emotions makes coherent manifestation impossible because your emotional state is constantly fluctuating based on temporary conditions. Emotional alignment requires developing what we might call emotional sovereignty, the ability to consciously choose your emotional state regardless of external circumstances. This doesn't mean denying or suppressing natural reactions. but rather developing the capacity to transform emotional energy in service of your highest vision. The key insight is that you can learn to feel the emotions of your desired reality before that reality manifests in your external world. If you want to create abundance, you can cultivate the emotions of gratitude, security, and generosity right now. If you want to attract love, you can generate feelings of love, appreciation, and connection in the present moment. If you want to experience success, you can embody emotions of confidence, achievement, and fulfillment today. This emotional practice serves multiple functions. First, it trains your nervous system to embody the biochemistry of your desired state, making you more likely to recognize and act upon opportunities that align with that state. Second, it broadcasts a clear electromagnetic signal to the quantum field, attracting experiences that match your emotional frequency. Third, it makes you more enjoyable to be around, naturally drawing people and opportunities into your life. The daily practice involves consciously generating and sustaining emotions that align with your vision. This might include morning gratitude practices, meditation sessions focused on heart coherence, or simply pausing throughout the day to reconnect with the emotions of your desired reality. The key is consistency, training your emotional system to default to elevated states rather than survival emotions. The action component, embodied integration. The third element of coherence is ensuring that your physical actions align with and support your intentions. This is where vision becomes reality, where internal transformation expresses itself in external results, where consciousness meets matter. Aligned action doesn't necessarily mean taking massive, dramatic steps toward your goals, though sometimes it does. More often, it means ensuring that your daily choices, habits, and behaviors are consistent with the identity and reality you're creating. It means asking yourself, what would someone who has already achieved what I desire do in this situation? If you're creating financial abundance, aligned actions might include learning about investments, networking with successful people, improving your skills, or simply handling your current finances with the respect and wisdom of someone who values money. If you're manifesting perfect health, aligned actions could include choosing nourishing foods, exercising regularly, getting adequate sleep, or treating your body with the love and care it deserves. The key is that aligned actions feel inspired rather than forced, natural rather than contrived, joyful rather than burdensome. When you're truly in coherence, right action arises spontaneously from your aligned state. You don't have to force yourself to do things that support your vision. You naturally want to do them because they express who you're becoming. This doesn't mean that aligned action is always easy or comfortable. Sometimes it requires stepping outside your comfort zone, facing fears, or choosing growth over security. But even challenging aligned actions feel different from forced actions because they're motivated by inspiration and vision rather than fear and desperation. The practice involves developing sensitivity to the difference between inspired action and reactive action. Inspired action arises from a place of clarity, excitement, and inner knowing. It feels expansive and energizing, even when challenging. Reactive action arises from fear, pressure, or social conditioning. It feels contractive and draining, even when easy. Learning to trust and follow inspired action is crucial to maintaining coherence. When you receive inner guidance to make a phone call, attend an event, learn a new skill, or change a pattern, following that guidance strengthens your alignment, and often leads to unexpected opportunities and synchronicities. The feedback loop of coherent creation. When you achieve true coherence between thought, emotion, and action, you create what systems theorists call a positive feedback loop, a self-reinforcing cycle where success breeds more success, manifestation amplifies more manifestation, and alignment deepens more alignment. This feedback loop begins when your coherent state produces noticeable results in your external reality. Perhaps you experience unexpected opportunities, helpful synchronicities, improved relationships, or increased abundance. These positive outcomes validate your coherent approach and naturally increase your faith in the process. Increased faith makes it easier to maintain coherence because you're no longer practicing a theory. You're applying a proven method. This deeper confidence allows you to maintain your aligned state, even when facing temporary challenges or delays, which in turn produces even more consistent and dramatic results. As this positive feedback loop continues, several profound shifts occur. First, your default state gradually shifts from incoherence to coherence. What once required conscious effort becomes increasingly natural and automatic. Second, your ability to recognize and create opportunities expands exponentially. Third, your capacity to maintain elevated states increases, allowing you to tackle larger and more ambitious manifestations. Perhaps most importantly, you begin to understand experientially that you are not separate from the creative force of the universe. You are its conscious expression. You realize that coherence is not something you do, but something you are when you align with your true nature as a creative being. Living in the flow of aligned creation. Ultimate goal of developing coherence is not to control outcomes, but to flow harmoniously with the intelligence of the universe while consciously participating in creation. When you achieve sustainable alignment between thought, emotion, and action, life becomes less about effortful striving and more about graceful allowing. In this state, opportunities appear naturally, relationships deepen spontaneously, abundance flows effortlessly, and challenges transform into growth experiences. You find yourself consistently in the right place at the right time, meeting the right people, receiving the right information, and taking the right actions. This doesn't mean life becomes free of all challenges or difficulties. Rather, it means you develop the coherent capacity to meet any situation with aligned responses that serve your highest good and often transform apparent obstacles into unexpected blessings. Living in coherent alignment also means becoming a beneficial presence in the world. When your thoughts, emotions, and actions are aligned around love, service, and contribution, you naturally uplift everyone you encounter. You become a positive force for transformation, inspiring others through your example and contributing to the elevation of global consciousness. The journey of developing coherence is ultimately a journey of remembering who you really are beneath the layers of conditioning and limitation. You are not a random collection of disconnected thoughts, emotions, and actions. You are a unified being of infinite creative potential, temporarily expressing yourself in physical form for the joy of conscious creation. When you align with this truth and express it through coherent living, you don't just create the life of your dreams. You become a dream come true for the world around you. Perfect alignment is not the absence of challenge. It is the presence of such internal coherence that every challenge becomes an opportunity for even greater alignment. Chapter 7. Transcending Linear Time. Time is not a river flowing in one direction. It is an ocean of infinite possibilities where past, present and future exist simultaneously. When you learn to navigate this ocean consciously, you can literally pull your desired future into your present moment. The illusion of sequential reality. Everything you've been taught about time is incomplete. You've been conditioned to believe that time flows in a straight line from past to present to future, that what happened yesterday determines what's possible today, and that your dreams must wait for someday to become reality. This linear perspective on time is one of the most limiting beliefs you can hold, and it's keeping you trapped in a prison of sequential thinking that severely restricts your manifestation abilities. But what if time doesn't actually work the way you've been taught? What if past, present, and future are simply different focal points within an eternal now? What if your future self already exists and is actively trying to communicate with your present self? What if you could learn to operate from a timeless perspective that allows you to manifest desired outcomes, not eventually, but immediately? Modern physics has shattered the illusion of linear time. Einstein's theory of relativity proved that time is not absolute, but relative to the observer. Quantum mechanics has demonstrated that at the subatomic level, effects can precede causes, and information can travel instantaneously across vast distances. The cutting edge of consciousness research suggests that human awareness can transcend the normal constraints of time and space, accessing information from potential futures and influencing events across temporal boundaries. When you learn to operate from this expanded understanding of time, you stop being a victim of your past and a prisoner of linear progression. You become a conscious navigator of temporal reality, capable of stepping outside the stream of sequential time and choosing which timeline you want to experience. The eternal now of infinite possibilities. The deepest level of reality exists what mystics have called the eternal now, a timeless dimension where all possibilities exist simultaneously. This isn't a mystical concept, but a description of what physicists call the quantum field, that fundamental level of reality where matter, energy, space, and time emerge from pure potentiality. In this eternal now, every possible version of your life already exists. There's a timeline where you've already achieved everything you desire, another where you've transcended your current limitations, and countless others representing every conceivable possibility. These aren't just potential futures. They're actual realities existing in parallel dimensions of space-time. Your consciousness has the remarkable ability to tune into these different timelines like a radio tuning into different stations. The thoughts you think, the emotions you feel, and the beliefs you hold determine which timeline you're aligned with, and therefore which reality you experience as your present moment. Most people remain unconsciously locked into timelines that are logical extensions of their past experiences. They carry forward the limitations, patterns, and identities from their personal history, unconsciously projecting these into their future and experiencing what feels like the inevitable unfolding of their life story. They live as if their future is predetermined by their past. But when you understand the true nature of time and possibility, you realize that you can consciously choose which timeline to align with. You can step out of the trajectory defined by your past and step into a timeline that represents your highest potential. This isn't fantasy, it's advanced consciousness, technology based on the most current understanding of how reality actually works. The science of temporal consciousness. Neuroscience has made fascinating discoveries about how your brain processes temporal information rather than experiencing time in real time. Your brain constantly constructs your sense of now by integrating information from the immediate past, present sensory input, and predictions about the immediate future. What you experience as the present moment is actually a sophisticated neurological construction. This means your experience of time is far more malleable than you've been taught to believe. When you're deeply absorbed in an enjoyable activity, hours can pass like minutes. When you're in an emergency situation, seconds can feel like minutes as your consciousness processes information at accelerated rates. When you're bored or anxious, minutes can feel like hours. These subjective alterations in temporal experience point to a profound truth. Your consciousness is not a passive recipient of time, but an active participant in creating your temporal reality through specific practices and states of consciousness.
You can learn to operate outside normal temporal constraints. Advanced meditators report experiences of timelessness where hours of clock time pass in what feels like moments.
Or conversely, where brief meditation sessions contain what feels like hours of inner experience. Near-death experiencers consistently report moving beyond linear time into a dimension where their entire life history and multiple possible futures are simultaneously accessible. Remote viewers routinely access information from past and future time periods with remarkable accuracy. These aren't anomalous experiences, but demonstrations of consciousness's natural ability to transcend linear time when freed from the constraints of ordinary thinking. Your brain is designed not just to process sequential time, but to access what we might call vertical time, the dimension where all possibilities coexist. Recent research in quantum consciousness suggests that human awareness can literally influence events across time. Studies in retrocausality have shown that future observations can influence past quantum events. Experiments in presentiment demonstrate that your body can respond to future events before they occur in linear time. These findings point toward a reality where consciousness and time interact in ways that transcend conventional understanding. The art of timeline shifting. Once you understand that multiple timelines exist simultaneously and that your consciousness can navigate between them, the next step is learning the practical art of timeline shifting, consciously choosing which probable future you want to experience and aligning with it in the present moment. Timeline shifting begins with a profound shift in identity. Instead of identifying yourself as the person shaped by your past experiences, you begin to identify as the person you're becoming on your desired timeline. This isn't pretending or fantasy, it's recognizing that the you who has already achieved your dreams exists as a real possibility in the quantum field and choosing to align with that version of yourself. This shift requires what we might call future-based thinking rather than past-based thinking. Instead of making decisions based on what has happened before, you make decisions based on where you want to go. Instead of letting your history determine your choices, you let your vision guide your actions. Instead of being the person you've always been, you consciously become the person you're choosing to be. The key insight is that your future self already possesses the wisdom, capabilities, and resources to navigate any situation you're currently facing. By aligning with this future version of yourself, you gain access to solutions, insights, and opportunities that aren't visible from your current perspective. This alignment happens through a combination of consciousness practices. First, you develop a clear, detailed vision of who you're becoming and what you're creating on your desired timeline. Second, you learn to think, feel, and act as if you're already that person living that reality. Third, You make decisions throughout your day by asking, "What would my future self do in this situation?" As you consistently practice this future-based orientation, something remarkable happens. You begin to collapse the time between your current reality and your desired reality. Instead of waiting for gradual progress over months or years, you begin experiencing quantum leaps, where significant shifts happen rapidly and sometimes instantaneously. The vibration of different timelines. Possible timeline has its own vibrational signature, a unique electromagnetic frequency that corresponds to the thoughts, emotions, and experiences characteristic of that reality. When you align your personal vibration with the frequency of your desired timeline, you literally tune into that reality and begin experiencing it as your present moment. This vibrational alignment is not metaphorical, but measurable. Different emotional states correspond to different brainwave patterns, different neurochemical profiles, and different electromagnetic signatures. When you consistently maintain the thoughts and emotions of your desired timeline, you literally embody the vibrational frequency of that reality. The timeline where you're struggling financially has a different vibrational signature than the timeline where you're abundantly prosperous. The timeline where you're lonely and isolated vibrates differently than the timeline where you're surrounded by loving relationships. The timeline where you're sick and tired operates at a different frequency than the timeline where you're vibrantly healthy. Learning to identify and align with the vibration of your desired timeline is one of the most practical skills you can develop. This involves becoming sensitive to the subtle energetic differences between various possibilities and learning to consciously choose thoughts, emotions, and actions that match the frequency of where you want to go rather than where you've been. The practice begins with clearly envisioning your desired timeline and asking yourself, what does this reality feel like energetically? What emotions are natural and predominant in this timeline? What thoughts are automatic for the person living this reality? What would be the typical energy and outlook of someone experiencing this life? Once you identify the vibrational signature of your desired timeline, you practice embodying that frequency throughout your day. You think the thoughts, feel the emotions, and take the actions that are natural to that timeline. You literally practice being the person who lives that reality until it becomes your default state of being. The quantum leap phenomenon. When you successfully align with a different timeline, manifestation often occurs through what appears to be quantum leaps. Sudden, dramatic shifts in your reality that seem to defy normal causation. Opportunities appear out of nowhere. Perfect solutions manifest instantly. Ideal relationships begin spontaneously, or financial abundance flows unexpectedly. These quantum leaps are not miraculous, exceptions to natural law, but natural results of consciousness, operating according to quantum principles rather than classical physics. At the quantum level, particles can appear in new locations without traveling through the space between, and energy can shift from one state to another instantaneously. When your consciousness operates quantum ally rather than linearly, your reality can shift just as dramatically. The key to experiencing quantum leaps is releasing attachment to how and when your desired reality should manifest. Linear thinking tries to figure out the logical steps from here to there and becomes frustrated when change doesn't follow predictable patterns. Quantum thinking trusts that when you align with a different timeline, reality will reorganize itself to match that alignment in whatever way serves the highest good. This requires what we might call timeline faith. Trust in possibilities that aren't yet visible. From your current perspective, it means maintaining your alignment with your desired reality even when external circumstances don't immediately reflect that alignment. It means continuing to think, feel, and act from your chosen timeline, especially when logic suggests you should return to old patterns. Quantum leaps often occur during what timeline researchers call transition periods, moments when you're old. Reality is dissolving, but your new reality hasn't yet fully materialized. These can be uncomfortable periods because you're literally between timelines, no longer resonating with your old life, but not yet completely established in your new one. During these transition periods, it's crucial to maintain faith in the process and continue aligning with your desired timeline rather than retreating to familiar patterns out of fear or impatience. The temporary discomfort of transition is simply evidence that a significant shift is occurring. Your reality is literally reorganizing itself around your new vibrational signature. The collaboration with future self, one of the most powerful aspects of transcending linear time, is learning to consciously collaborate with your future self, that version of you who has already achieved what you're working toward and exists as a real possibility in the quantum field of potentials. Your future self possesses insights, wisdom, and capabilities that your current self is still developing. By establishing conscious communication with this future aspect of yourself, you can receive guidance, inspiration, and solutions that accelerate your growth and manifestation abilities. This collaboration happens through various consciousness practices. In meditation, you can visualize connecting with your future self and asking for guidance about specific decisions or challenges. You can request downloads of information, skills, or perspectives that would help you navigate your current situation more effectively. Throughout your day, you can pause and ask, what would my fully actualized future self do in this situation? How would the version of me who has already achieved my goals handle this challenge? What wisdom would my future self want to share about this decision? The key is treating these communications as real rather than imaginary. Your future self isn't a fantasy, but a probable reality that already exists in the quantum field. When you approach this practice with genuine openness and respect, you often receive clear insights, creative solutions, or intuitive guidance that helps you make decisions aligned with your highest timeline. Many successful individuals throughout history have described receiving guidance from what they called their higher self, inner genius, or future vision. They understood intuitively what quantum physics now explains. Consciousness can access information across temporal boundaries when it transcends the limitations of linear thinking. Living from eternal perspective, the ultimate goal of transcending linear time is not to escape the present moment, but to live fully in the present while simultaneously accessing the wisdom and possibilities of eternal perspective. This is what we might call vertical living, being completely present while remaining connected to the timeless dimension where all possibilities coexist. From this eternal perspective, you understand that every moment is complete in itself while also being part of a larger unfolding. You can fully engage with present circumstances while maintaining awareness of the trajectory toward your highest potential. You can take practical actions in the world while operating from the understanding that true fulfillment exists in the timeless dimension of being. This perspective transforms how you relate to challenges, setbacks, and delays. Instead of seeing these as obstacles to your future happiness, you recognize them as part of the perfect unfolding that's guiding you toward your highest timeline. you develop what might be called temporal patience, the ability to trust divine timing while maintaining active engagement with your vision. Living from eternal perspective also means recognizing that your value and completeness don't depend on achieving future goals. You're already whole and perfect in the eternal now, and your manifestation journey is an expression of this wholeness rather than a quest to become complete. This understanding removes the desperate energy that often sabotages manifestation efforts and replaces it with the joyful creativity of someone who's playing with possibilities rather than struggling for survival. When you master the art of transcending linear time, you discover that you don't have to wait for your dreams to come true. You can live them now by aligning with the timeline where they're already reality. You realize that the future isn't something that happens to you eventually. It's something you're consciously creating and experiencing right now through your chosen thoughts, emotions, and actions. Time becomes your ally rather than your limitation. Possibility becomes your playground rather than your prison. And the present moment becomes the point of infinite creative power where any timeline can be accessed and any reality can be experienced. The master of time doesn't race against the clock. They dance with eternity in every moment, knowing that all possibilities exist now and need only consciousness to bring them into form. Chapter 8. The connection with the unified field. You are not a separate being navigating an indifferent universe. You are the universe expressing itself as a unique point of consciousness, forever connected to the infinite intelligence that creates and sustains all existence. The ocean of infinite intelligence. Imagine discovering that you are not a drop of water struggling to survive in a vast ocean, but rather that you are the entire ocean expressing itself as a single drop. This shift in understanding, from separation to unity, from isolation to connection, from limitation to infinite possibility, is perhaps the most profound transformation available to human consciousness. At the foundation of all existence lies what physicists call the unified field, an invisible, intelligent medium from which all matter, energy, space, and time emerge. This field is not empty space, but rather a dynamic, creative intelligence that contains within itself the potential for every form, every experience, and every possibility that could ever exist. It is the womb of creation, the source of all manifestation, and the ultimate nature of reality itself. But here's the revolutionary understanding that changes everything. You are not separate from this field. Your consciousness is not isolated within the confines of your skull, but is rather a localized expression of the field's infinite intelligence. When you learn to consciously connect with and operate from this unified field, you gain access to resources, information, and creative power that far exceed what's available to individual consciousness operating in isolation. This connection is not something you must create. It already exists. You are already one with the field of infinite intelligence. The only question is whether you're aware of this connection and know how to access it consciously. When you do, manifestation transforms from personal effort to collaborative creation, from individual struggle to universal support, from limited human ability to unlimited cosmic intelligence. The science of non-local consciousness. For centuries, scientific materialism has insisted that consciousness is produced by the brain and confined to individual skulls. But cutting-edge research in quantum consciousness, parapsychology, and neuroscience is revealing a radically different picture. Consciousness appears to be a fundamental property of the universe itself, with individual minds being local expressions of this universal consciousness. Studies in remote viewing have demonstrated that trained individuals can accurately perceive information from distant locations, across time barriers, and beyond the reach of normal sensory perception. Research in telepathy has shown that under controlled conditions, information can be transmitted directly from mind to mind without any known physical mechanism. Experiments in psychokinesis have documented the ability of consciousness to influence matter at a distance through intention alone. Perhaps most significantly, studies of the Global Consciousness Project have revealed that during moments of intense collective focus, such as major global events, random number generators around the world begin producing non-random patterns, suggesting that collective human consciousness can influence physical systems on a planetary scale. These findings point toward what physicists call non-local consciousness, the understanding that awareness transcends the boundaries of space and time and can access information and influence matter across any distance instantaneously. This non-locality is not a special ability possessed by gifted individuals, but rather a fundamental characteristic of consciousness itself. Your brain, rather than producing consciousness, appears to function more like a receiving and transmitting station, tuning into the frequencies of universal consciousness and broadcasting your individual thoughts and intentions back into the field. When you understand and work with this non-local nature of consciousness, you can literally access information, inspiration, and creative solutions from the infinite intelligence of the unified field. The language of the field. Unified field communicates through what we might call the language of frequency. Vibrational patterns that carry information, intention, and creative potential. Every thought you think, every emotion you feel, and every intention you hold create specific electromagnetic frequencies that resonate within this field. But the field doesn't just receive your communications, it responds to them. When you broadcast coherent, elevated frequencies through aligned thoughts and emotions, the field organizes circumstances, opportunities, and synchronicities that match those frequencies. When you transmit confused, conflicted, or low-frequency signals, the field responds with experiences that reflect that incoherence. Learning to communicate effectively with the unified field requires developing what we might call frequency literacy, the ability to consciously choose the vibrational patterns you're broadcasting and to interpret the feedback you're receiving from the field through the experiences it manifests in your life. This communication is far more sophisticated than simple positive thinking. The field responds to the totality of your electromagnetic signature, the combined pattern created by your thoughts, emotions, beliefs, and intentions. It can detect incongruence between what you're consciously thinking and what you're unconsciously feeling, between what you're saying you want and what you're energetically expecting. The most effective communication with the field occurs when you achieve what we might call coherent broadcasting, a state where your thoughts, emotions, and intentions are all aligned around a single, clear frequency. In this state, your electromagnetic signature becomes a focused beam of creative intention that the field can respond to with precision and power, accessing universal intelligence. Of the most remarkable aspects of connecting with the unified field is gaining access to what appears to be unlimited intelligence and information. The field contains the accumulated wisdom of all existence, the solutions to every problem, the answer to every question, and the creative potential for every possibility. Throughout history, the greatest innovations, artistic masterpieces, and scientific breakthroughs have come not from purely individual effort, but from individuals who learned to tap into this universal intelligence. They describe experiences of receiving downloads of information, sudden insights that seem to come from beyond their personal knowledge, or creative inspiration that flows through them rather than from them. This access to universal intelligence occurs when you shift from what we might call personal consciousness to universal consciousness, when you transcend the limitations of individual thinking and open to the wisdom of the field itself. This shift typically requires moving beyond the ego's need to figure everything out personally and developing the humility to receive guidance from a source greater than your individual mind. The practice of accessing universal intelligence involves several key elements. First, you cultivate a state of receptive awareness, open, relaxed, and free from the need to control or force solutions. Second, you pose clear questions or intentions to the field, then remain alert for responses that may come through intuition, synchronicity, or sudden insight. Third, you develop trust in the information you receive, even when it doesn't make logical sense from your current perspective. Many successful entrepreneurs, artists, and innovators describe having regular practices for tapping into this universal intelligence, whether through meditation, contemplation, time in nature, or other methods of quieting the personal mind and opening to greater wisdom. They understand that their individual knowledge and abilities, while important, are limited compared to the infinite intelligence available through conscious connection with the field. The art of surrendered co-creation, connecting with the unified field, transforms manifestation from an individual effort to a collaborative dance between your personal consciousness and universal intelligence. This shift requires developing what we might call surrendered co-creation, maintaining clear intentions while remaining open to how the field chooses to fulfill those intentions. Most people approach manifestation with a controlling mindset, trying to figure out exactly how their desires should manifest and when they should appear. This approach severely limits manifestation potential because it confines universal intelligence to working within the narrow parameters of individual understanding and imagination. Surrendered co-creation means holding your intentions with clarity and passion, while remaining completely open to the infinite ways the field might choose to fulfill them. It means being specific about what you want to experience while being flexible about how it appears. It means trusting that universal intelligence has access to possibilities, resources, and solutions that far exceed what you can currently perceive. This doesn't mean becoming passive or abandoning personal responsibility. Rather, it means learning to dance between focused intention and relaxed allowing, between taking inspired action and trusting divine timing, between personal effort and universal support. The key insight is that the field is not an impersonal force that simply responds to your commands, but rather an intelligent, creative partner that wants to collaborate with you in creating experiences that serve not only your personal fulfillment, but also the greater good of all existence. When you approach manifestation from this collaborative perspective, you often receive gifts that exceed your original intentions. Synchronicity as field communication. One of the primary ways the unified field communicates with individual consciousness is through synchronicity, meaningful coincidences that seem to arrange themselves in support of your intentions and highest good. When you're connected to the field, synchronicities multiply exponentially, providing guidance, opportunities, and confirmations that you're aligned with the flow of universal intelligence. Carl Jung, who coined the term synchronicity, understood it as evidence of what he called the collective unconscious, a deeper layer of consciousness that connects all minds. Modern understanding suggests that synchronicities are actually manifestations of the field's response to coherent consciousness, ways that universal intelligence arranges circumstances to support aligned individuals. Learning to recognize and work with synchronicity requires developing what we might call pattern recognition, the ability to notice meaningful connections between seemingly unrelated events. When you're truly connected to the field, you begin to see that nothing in your experience is random. Every encounter, every opportunity, every challenge contains information and guidance from universal intelligence. The practice involves maintaining awareness for synchronistic patterns while avoiding the trap of seeing meaning where none exists. True synchronicities have a quality of rightness and resonance that feels unmistakable when experienced. They often involve perfect timing, unexpected connections, or solutions that address your needs in ways you couldn't have orchestrated personally. As you become more sensitive to synchronistic communication, you can begin to follow synchronistic threads, allowing meaningful coincidences to guide your decisions and actions. This creates a feedback loop where your attention to synchronicity generates more synchronicity, leading to a life that feels increasingly magical and perfectly orchestrated. The collective dimension of manifestation, understanding. Your connection to the unified field also reveals the collective dimension of manifestation, the recognition that your personal creations are part of a larger web of consciousness that includes all other beings. Your manifestations don't occur in isolation, but rather influence and are influenced by the collective field of human consciousness. This understanding brings both responsibility and opportunity. On one hand, you recognize that your thoughts, emotions, and manifestations contribute to the collective human experience. When you operate from love, abundance, and possibility, you strengthen these frequencies in the collective field, making them more accessible to others. When you operate from fear, scarcity, and limitation, you reinforce these patterns in the collective consciousness. On the other hand, you can consciously draw upon the collective field of human potential, accessing not only your individual capabilities but also the accumulated wisdom, creativity, and power of our entire species. When you manifest from this collective perspective, you're supported by the intentions and prayers of countless others who share similar visions for healing, abundance, love, and transformation. The practice involves expanding your manifestation intentions beyond purely personal desires to include the highest good of all beings. When you hold the intention that your manifestations serve not only your individual fulfillment, but also contribute to the healing and evolution of humanity, you align with the field's deepest purpose and receive its most powerful support. This doesn't mean sacrificing your personal dreams for others, but rather recognizing that your individual fulfillment and contribution to the collective good are not separate goals but different aspects of the same unified intention. The field responds most powerfully to intentions that honor both personal authenticity and universal love. Living as a field being the womb, ultimate goal of connecting with the unified field is not to use it as a tool for personal manifestation, but to recognize that you are not separate from it. You are not an individual being who sometimes connects to the field. You are the field expressing itself as an individual being. This recognition transforms your entire relationship with existence. From this field perspective, you understand that you are simultaneously completely unique and totally connected, absolutely individual and utterly universal. Your personal journey of growth and manifestation becomes a way for the field to explore its own infinite potential through your unique perspective and expression. This understanding brings profound peace because you Realize you're never truly alone or separate. It brings unlimited confidence because you're backed by the creative power of the entire universe. It brings deep purpose because you understand that your life serves the field's exploration of its own possibilities. Living as a field being means maintaining awareness of your connection to universal intelligence throughout your daily experience. It means making decisions not only from personal perspective, but also from the wisdom of the field. It means treating every encounter as a meeting between different expressions of the same universal consciousness. This perspective naturally generates compassion because you recognize that everyone you meet is another expression of the same field consciousness that you are. It creates spontaneous generosity because you understand that supporting others is supporting the field that supports you. It manifests effortless abundance because you're operating from the understanding of infinite resource rather than limited supply. When you fully embody your nature as a field being, manifestation becomes not something you do, but something you are. Your very existence becomes a continuous manifestation of the field's creative potential, and your life becomes a living demonstration of what's possible when individual consciousness aligns completely with universal intelligence. The journey from separation to unity, from individual struggle to field collaboration, from personal effort to universal support, is perhaps the most profound transformation available to human consciousness. It's the difference between being a wave trying to become the ocean and recognizing that you have always been the ocean expressing itself as a wave. The moment you remember that you are not in the universe, but the universe is in you, every limitation dissolves, and every possibility becomes available through the infinite intelligence of your true nature. Chapter 9. Maintaining the Frequency of Abundance. Abundance is not something you achieve once and keep forever. It is a frequency you learn to embody consistently, regardless of external circumstances. Mastery lies not in reaching the mountaintop, but in learning to live there. The art of frequency maintenance. You've learned to access elevated states of consciousness, connect with the unified field, and manifest desired outcomes through aligned intention. But now comes perhaps the most crucial challenge of all: maintaining these elevated frequencies consistently, especially when faced with the inevitable tests, challenges, and apparent setbacks that life presents. Most people experience what we might call frequency fluctuation. They reach beautiful states of alignment and manifestation, only to lose that frequency when confronted with bills, difficult relationships, health concerns, or other challenges. They operate from abundance consciousness when things are going well, but revert to scarcity programming when circumstances become difficult. This fluctuation is natural and part of the learning process, but true mastery involves developing what we might call frequency stability, the ability to maintain your chosen vibrational state regardless of external conditions. This is the difference between someone who occasionally manifests and someone who lives in continuous flow with their highest potential. The key insight is that your external circumstances are always a reflection of your internal frequency, but with a time delay. This delay can create confusion because you might elevate your consciousness today, but still be experiencing the results of yesterday's frequency. Learning to maintain your elevated state during this transition period is crucial to creating lasting transformation. When you can consistently embody the frequency of abundance in your thoughts, emotions, and actions, regardless of what your current bank account, relationships, or health situation looks like, you demonstrate true mastery over your creative power. You become someone who creates abundance rather than someone who responds to it. The anatomy of abundance. Consciousness. Before you can maintain the frequency of abundance, you must understand what abundance consciousness actually entails. Abundance is far more than having lots of money or material possessions. True abundance is a comprehensive state of being that encompasses multiple dimensions of human experience. Mental abundance involves thinking from possibility rather than limitation, focusing on solutions rather than problems, and maintaining optimism about outcomes, even when current evidence suggests otherwise. It means having a mind that naturally sees opportunities where others see obstacles, that expects good things to happen, and that maintains faith in positive outcomes. Emotional abundance is characterized by feelings of gratitude, appreciation, joy, love, and contentment that arise from within, rather than depending on external circumstances. It's the ability to feel wealthy, regardless of your current financial situation. To feel loved, even when alone. To feel successful, even during apparent failures. Energetic abundance involves maintaining high levels of vitality, enthusiasm, and life force that make you naturally attractive to opportunities and people. It's about radiating the kind of energy that lights up rooms and draws positive experiences into your orbit. Spiritual abundance encompasses a deep sense of connection to something greater than yourself, trust in the intelligence of the universe, and faith that you are always supported in your highest good. It includes feeling part of an abundant universe, rather than struggling in a scarce world. Relational abundance involves approaching all relationships from a place of giving rather than getting, love rather than need, and contribution rather than extraction. It means surrounding yourself with people who support your highest vision and naturally releasing relationships that drain your energy. Creative abundance is the recognition that you have unlimited capacity to create, innovate, and bring new possibilities into existence. It's about seeing yourself as a creative force rather than a victim of circumstances, and approaching challenges as opportunities for creative problem-solving. True abundance consciousness involves embodying all these dimensions simultaneously, creating a comprehensive frequency that attracts abundant experiences across every area of life. The challenges to frequency. Maintenance, understanding. The specific challenges that threaten your abundance frequency allows you to prepare for them and maintain your elevated state, even when conditions become difficult. These challenges typically fall into several categories. External opposition occurs when the people around you, family, friends, colleagues, or society in general, resist your transformation. They may unconsciously try to pull you back to your old frequency through criticism, skepticism, or simply by expecting you to remain the person you've always been. This social pressure can be intense because humans are tribal creatures programmed to maintain group cohesion. Financial pressure presents perhaps the most common test of abundance consciousness. When bills are due, income is uncertain, or unexpected expenses arise. The temptation to revert to scarcity thinking can be overwhelming. The ego argues that abundance consciousness is a luxury you can't afford when facing real financial challenges. Time stress challenges your abundance frequency when you feel overwhelmed by responsibilities, deadlines, or the pace of modern life. When you're rushing from one task to another, it's easy to slip back into survival mode and lose connection with your elevated state. Health concerns can quickly shift your focus from abundance to limitation especially if you're dealing with pain, illness, or low energy. Physical discomfort has a way of contracting consciousness and making it difficult to maintain elevated frequencies. Relationship conflicts test your ability to stay in abundance consciousness when dealing with difficult people. Painful separations or interpersonal stress, the emotional intensity of relationship challenges can quickly overwhelm your elevated state if you're not prepared. Comparison and judgment occur when you measure your progress against others or judge yourself for not being further along in your journey. Social media and contemporary culture constantly provide opportunities for comparison that can shift you from abundance to inadequacy. Delayed manifestation creates doubt when your desired outcomes don't appear as quickly as expected. The gap between elevation of consciousness and manifestation of results can test your faith and tempt you to abandon your practices. Recognizing these challenges as natural parts of the journey, rather than evidence of failure, allows you to prepare for them and maintain your frequency even when they arise. The technologies of frequency stabilization, developing reliable methods for maintaining your abundance frequency requires what we might call frequency technologies as specific practices and perspectives that help you stay aligned with your highest state regardless of circumstances. Morning frequency calibration involves beginning each day by consciously choosing and embodying your desired vibrational state before engaging with external circumstances. This might include meditation, visualization, gratitude practices, or simply taking time to remember who you are and what you're creating. Starting your day from an elevated frequency makes it much easier to maintain that state throughout daily challenges. Frequency anchoring involves creating sensory triggers that instantly reconnect you with your abundant state. This might be a specific piece of music that elevates your consciousness, a particular scent that reminds you of peak experiences, a physical gesture or posture that embodies confidence, or a phrase or mantra that instantly shifts your energy. Environmental curation means consciously designing your physical and social environment to support your elevated frequency. This includes surrounding yourself with inspiring images, uplifting music, abundant plants, and beautiful objects that remind you of prosperity and possibility. It also means spending time with people who support your transformation and limiting exposure to negative influences. Micro-frequency adjustments involve making small, frequent corrections to your vibrational state throughout the day. Rather than waiting until you've completely lost your frequency, you develop sensitivity to subtle shifts and make immediate adjustments. This might be taking 3 conscious breaths, pausing to appreciate something beautiful, or simply remembering your intention. Challenge. Reframing is the practice of immediately interpreting difficulties as opportunities to strengthen your frequency maintenance abilities. Instead of seeing problems as reasons to lower your vibration, you view them as training opportunities that help you develop greater mastery over your consciousness. Abundance. Evidence collection involves consistently noticing and documenting examples of abundance already present in your life. This might include keeping a gratitude journal, photographing beautiful moments, or simply making mental notes of synchronicities, opportunities, and gifts you receive daily. The daily practice of abundance maintaining. Abundance frequency requires consistent daily practices that reinforce your elevated state and counteract the natural tendency to slip back into old patterns. These practices work cumulatively. Each day of consistent practice makes it easier to maintain your frequency the next day. Gratitude. Multiplication goes beyond simply listing things you're Grateful for to actually multiplying the feeling of gratitude throughout your day. This involves not just thinking grateful thoughts, but actually generating and sustaining the emotion of gratitude until it becomes your default state. You might spend time each morning feeling grateful for your bed, your coffee, your health, your opportunities, and your potential, allowing each appreciation to build upon the previous one. Abundance visualization involves regularly spending time mentally experiencing the reality you're creating, but from the perspective of someone who already has it, rather than someone who wants it. You visualize not to get something, but to tune in to the frequency of already having it, strengthening your ability to maintain that frequency regardless of current circumstances. Generous action means consistently looking for opportunities to give, contribute, and support others. This might involve offering help, sharing resources, expressing appreciation, or simply holding loving thoughts for people you encounter. Generous action generates abundance frequency because it comes from overflow rather than need. Beauty appreciation involves consciously noticing and appreciating beauty throughout your day. This might include stopping to really see a sunset, appreciating the design of a building, enjoying the taste of your food, or simply noticing the miracle of your own body. Beauty appreciation naturally elevates consciousness and maintains connection with abundant experience. Success. Celebration means acknowledging and celebrating every manifestation, synchronicity, and positive outcome, no matter how small. Instead of immediately moving on to the next goal, you pause to appreciate what's working, what's flowing, and what's already abundant in your experience. Navigating the inevitable tests as you develop greater consistency in maintaining abundance frequency. You'll inevitably encounter what experienced practitioners call frequency tests, situations specifically designed to challenge your ability to maintain your elevated state. These tests are not punishments, but rather opportunities to strengthen your mastery. The scarcity illusion test presents apparent evidence that abundance is not working. Bills arrive when bank accounts are low, opportunities disappear just when needed, or others seem to succeed while you struggle. The test is whether you can maintain abundance, consciousness even when external evidence suggests scarcity. The timeline patience test challenges your ability to maintain faith when manifestations don't appear according to your preferred timeline. The test is whether you can continue operating from abundance frequency even when results take longer than expected. The social pressure test occurs when friends, family, or colleagues pressure you to abandon your unrealistic abundance consciousness and return to practical scarcity thinking. The test is whether you can maintain your elevated frequency despite social disapproval or misunderstanding. The comparison test presents opportunities to compare your progress unfavorably with others who seem more successful, abundant, or advanced. The test is whether you can maintain joy for others' success while staying focused on your own journey. The old pattern activation test triggers your historical emotional patterns around money, success, or worthiness. The test is whether you can recognize these patterns as temporary activations rather than truth, and choose your new frequency despite the familiar pull of old conditioning. Understanding these tests as natural parts of the development process allows you to meet them with curiosity rather than resistance, growth rather than contraction, and confidence rather than doubt. The compound effect of consistency. Perhaps the most important understanding about maintaining abundance frequency is recognizing the compound effect of consistency. Each day you maintain your elevated state makes it easier to maintain tomorrow. Each challenge you navigate without losing your frequency strengthens your overall stability. Like building physical fitness, developing frequency fitness requires consistent practice over time. You wouldn't expect to run a marathon after one day of training, and you shouldn't expect perfect frequency maintenance after 1 week of practice. But with consistent daily attention to your vibrational state, maintaining abundance consciousness gradually becomes as natural as breathing. The compound effect also applies to manifestation results. As you become more consistent in maintaining abundance frequency, the universe responds with increasingly consistent abundance manifestations. Synchronicities multiply, opportunities expand, relationships improve, and resources flow more freely. Most importantly, the compound effect transforms your identity. You gradually shift from someone who practices abundance to someone who embodies abundance, from someone who works to maintain elevated frequency to someone whose natural state is elevated frequency. This transformation is not just personal, but contributes to the collective field of human consciousness. As you become more stable in abundance frequency, you make it easier for others to access and maintain these states. Your consistency becomes a gift not only to your own life, but to all life. The freedom of frequency. Mastery. When you develop true mastery over your abundance frequency, you discover a freedom that few people ever experience. The freedom to feel abundant, regardless of circumstances, to maintain peace, regardless of chaos, to experience joy, regardless of challenges. This is not the fragile happiness that depends on everything going well, but the unshakable well-being that arises from knowing who you are and maintaining connection with your true nature, regardless of temporary conditions. From this place of frequency mastery, abundance becomes not something you strive for, but something you are. Manifestation becomes not something you do, but something that flows naturally from your being. Success becomes not a destination you reach, but a frequency you embody. You realize that maintaining abundance frequency is not about achieving a perfect life, free from all challenges, but about maintaining your connection to infinite possibility, regardless of what challenges arise. You become someone who brings abundance, consciousness to every situation, rather than someone who needs abundant situations to feel abundant. This is the ultimate goal of abundance frequency maintenance, not to create a life without difficulties, but to develop such consistency in your elevated state that you transform difficulties into opportunities, obstacles into stepping stones, and challenges into confirmations of your growing mastery. True abundance is not the absence of challenges. It is the presence of such unwavering connection to infinite possibility that every challenge becomes another opportunity to demonstrate your mastery over consciousness itself. Chapter 10. Living as the master of your reality. The ultimate achievement is not to gain power over your circumstances, but to realize that you have always been the creative force behind them. Mastery is simply the conscious recognition and embodiment of what you have always been. The graduated scholar you began this journey as someone seeking to unlock the secrets of manifestation and conscious creation. You have studied the science of consciousness, learned to reprogram your mental operating system, mastered the language of elevated emotions, and discovered your fundamental unity with the infinite intelligence of the universe. Now, you stand at the threshold of true mastery, not as someone who has learned techniques for getting what you want, but as someone who has remembered who you truly are. The scholar within you has fully awakened. You are no longer a student of consciousness, but a practitioner of it, no longer seeking your power but wielding it, no longer hoping for transformation but living it. This final chapter is not about learning new concepts, but about integrating everything you've discovered into a seamless way of being that expresses mastery in every moment. True mastery is recognizable not by the absence of challenges in your life, but by the grace with which you meet every challenge. It's evident not in the perfection of your circumstances, but in the consistency of your elevated response to any circumstance. It's demonstrated not by your ability to control outcomes, but by your capacity to create from joy, regardless of what outcomes appear. You have become someone who doesn't just practice manifestation, you embody it. You don't just use consciousness techniques, you live as consciousness itself. You don't just connect with the unified field, you recognize yourself as a unique expression of that field. This is the flowering of the scholar, the integration of all knowledge into wisdom, all techniques into being, all seeking into finding. The invisible architecture of a master's life. When you observe the life of someone who has integrated these principles into mastery, you might notice that everything seems to flow effortlessly for them. Opportunities appear at perfect timing. Relationships deepen naturally. Resources flow abundantly, and challenges transform into blessings with apparent ease. But this external harmony is supported by an invisible architecture, a carefully crafted internal structure that maintains alignment. Regardless of external conditions, the master's consciousness structure operates on multiple levels simultaneously. At the surface level, they maintain moment-to-moment awareness of their thoughts, emotions, and energy, making continuous micro-adjustments to stay aligned with their highest frequency. At a deeper level, they hold unwavering clarity about their core intentions and values, ensuring that all decisions flow from this foundation. At the deepest level, they maintain constant connection with their true nature as an expression of infinite consciousness. The master's daily architecture might appear ordinary to outside observers, but every element serves the purpose of maintaining elevated consciousness. Their morning routine calibrates their frequency for the day. Their choices of environment, entertainment, and social interaction all support their expanded awareness. Their evening practices integrate the day's experiences and prepare consciousness for restorative sleep and continued creation. Master's relationship architecture reflects their understanding that every interaction is an opportunity for mutual elevation. They naturally attract people who support their highest vision while releasing relationships that drain their energy. They give generously from overflow rather than neediness, and receive gracefully without attachment. They see every person as another expression of the same consciousness they are. The master's financial architecture operates from abundance consciousness regardless of current account balances. They relate to money as energy to be circulated rather than hoarded, as a tool for service rather than security, as an expression of value rather than a measure of worth. They invest in their own growth and development, as naturally as breathing. The master's health architecture recognizes the body as the vehicle for consciousness expression and treats it with corresponding respect. They choose foods that enhance energy rather than diminish it, engage in movement that feels joyful rather than punitive, and maintain practices that support physical vitality as well as mental clarity. This architecture isn't rigid or forced, but flows naturally from the master's understanding of how consciousness works. They've discovered that external harmony is always a reflection of internal coherence, so they focus primarily on maintaining that coherence and trust the external to organize itself accordingly. The art of effortless creation, perhaps the most distinctive characteristic of someone who has mastered conscious creation, is the quality of effortlessness that permeates their manifestation process. They seem to create significant results with minimal struggle, to attract opportunities without desperate seeking, to solve problems with elegant simplicity. This effortlessness is not laziness or passivity, but rather the natural result of perfect alignment between intention and action, between personal will and universal intelligence, between individual desire and cosmic purpose. When you operate from this alignment, you discover that the universe wants to support your highest good even more than you do, and your role becomes one of allowing rather than forcing. Effortless creation begins with crystal clarity about what you truly desire to experience, not just what you think you should want or what others expect you to want. Masters spend time in contemplation and communion with their deepest truth, ensuring that their creative efforts are aligned with their authentic nature rather than social programming. It continues with emotional authenticity, feeling genuinely excited about what you're creating rather than desperate about what you're lacking. Masters have learned to generate the emotions of their desired reality before that reality appears, creating a vibrational match that makes manifestation inevitable rather than hopeful. It expresses through inspired action, taking steps that feel energizing and aligned rather than forced and dutiful. Masters have developed sensitivity to the difference between action that flows from inspiration and action that arises from fear, and they consistently choose the former, even when logic suggests the latter. It completes through surrendered trust, releasing attachment to specific timelines and methods while maintaining unwavering faith in perfect outcomes. Masters understand that their role is to set clear intentions and take aligned action, while the field's role is to orchestrate the details in ways that often exceed their original vision. This effortless quality develops naturally as you integrate the principles you've learned. The more consistently you align your consciousness with your intentions, the more the universe seems to conspire in your favor. The more you trust the process, the more trustworthy the process reveals itself to be. The paradox of mastery. One of the most profound realizations that comes with mastery is understanding what we might call the paradox of mastery. The recognition that true power comes not from trying to control life, but from dancing gracefully with its natural flow, not from forcing outcomes, but from allowing them to emerge from alignment. This paradox appears in multiple dimensions of the master's experience. They achieve more by striving less, attract abundance by releasing desperation, experience love by becoming love rather than seeking it, and discover peace by accepting what is while simultaneously creating what could be. The paradox of desire and detachment. Masters hold their intentions with passionate clarity while remaining completely unattached to specific outcomes. They care deeply about their visions while being equally content with whatever emerges from their aligned action. This combination of caring without clinging creates the optimal conditions for manifestation. The paradox of personal will and universal will. Masters pursue their individual dreams while simultaneously surrendering to something greater than their personal agenda. They've discovered that their authentic desires are not separate from universal purpose, but rather the way universal purpose expresses itself through their unique perspective. The paradox of being and becoming. Masters are simultaneously completely content with who they are now, while continuously evolving into who they're becoming. They've transcended the belief that happiness depends on achieving future goals while maintaining excitement about their expanding potential. The paradox of individual and universal. Masters operate as distinct individuals with unique gifts and purposes while recognizing their fundamental unity with all existence. They serve their personal growth while contributing to collective elevation, pursue individual fulfillment while supporting universal harmony. Understanding these paradoxes intellectually is one thing. Embodying them experientially is the mark of true mastery. This embodiment typically develops gradually through consistent practice and life experience, as the ego's need to control slowly gives way to the soul's trust in divine order. The service dimension of mastery. As you integrate these principles into mastery, you naturally discover that your personal transformation has implications far beyond your individual life. You become a living demonstration that consciousness can be elevated, that reality can be consciously created, that human potential extends far beyond conventional limitations. This demonstration happens not through preaching or teaching, but simply through being. When you embody elevated consciousness consistently, you create what we might call a field of possibility around you that makes it easier for others to access their own elevated states. Your presence becomes a gift to everyone you encounter. Masters naturally become mentors, not necessarily through formal teaching, but through the example of their being. People are drawn to their energy, curious about their perspective, and inspired by their approach to life. They find themselves in conversations that matter, relationships that transform, and situations where their elevated consciousness can make a positive difference. Masters naturally become healers, not through specific techniques, but through their embodiment of wholeness. Their presence itself becomes healing because they hold space for others to remember their own wholeness. They see potential where others see problems, possibility where others see limitation, and love where others see fear. Masters naturally become creators of positive change, not through forced activism, but through aligned action that serves both their authentic expression and the collective good. They find themselves drawn to projects, initiatives, and collaborations that contribute to the healing and evolution of humanity. This service dimension emerges organically from mastery rather than being imposed as an obligation. When you're operating from overflow rather than neediness, from abundance rather than scarcity, from love rather than fear, service becomes as natural as breathing. You discover that supporting others' elevation supports your own, that contributing to collective healing enhances your personal well-being, and that serving something greater than yourself is actually the most fulfilling way to express your individuality, the ever-deepening journey. One of the most important understandings that comes with mastery is recognizing that mastery itself is not a destination but a quality of journey. You don't arrive at mastery and then stop growing. Rather, you embody mastery as a way of approaching continuous expansion and evolution. Mastery includes humility, the recognition that no matter how much you've learned and integrated, consciousness is infinite, and there are always deeper levels of understanding and embodiment available. Masters maintain beginner's mind even as they demonstrate advanced capabilities. Mastery includes adaptability, the ability to meet new challenges and opportunities with fresh creativity rather than rigid adherence to past methods. Masters understand that techniques are tools to be used skillfully rather than rules to be followed blindly. Mastery includes mystery, the comfort with not knowing everything, not controlling everything, and not understanding everything. Masters have learned to dance with uncertainty while maintaining faith in ultimate order and purpose. Mastery includes mentorship, the joy of supporting others in their own journey of awakening and empowerment. Masters understand that teaching deepens their own understanding, and that supporting others' elevation serves their own continued growth. This ever-deepening quality keeps the journey fresh and exciting even as you achieve levels of mastery that once seemed impossible. You discover that consciousness exploration is like exploring an infinite ocean. No matter how far you travel, there are always new depths to discover and new horizons to explore. The legacy of the awakened. Scholar, as you live from mastery, you automatically create a legacy that extends far beyond your individual lifetime. This legacy is not necessarily measured in external accomplishments or monuments, but in the elevation of consciousness you've contributed to the human experience. Every time you choose love over fear, you strengthen the frequency of love in the collective field. Every time you respond to challenges with wisdom rather than reactivity, you demonstrate that such responses are possible. Every time you manifest from joy rather than desperation, you prove that conscious creation is available to anyone willing to develop it. Your legacy lives in the people whose lives you've touched through your elevated presence, whether they're aware of your influence or not. Your consistent embodiment of possibility gives others permission to explore their own potential. Your legacy lives in the collective consciousness of humanity, where your elevated thoughts and emotions contribute to the overall vibrational environment that everyone shares. Your personal transformation literally makes it easier for others to transform. Your legacy lives in the morphic field of human potential, where your achievements expand the template of what's possible for our species. Every limitation you transcend makes it easier for others to transcend similar limitations. Your legacy lives in the quantum field of infinite possibility, where your conscious creations add to the library of demonstrated realities available to future explorers of consciousness. This understanding adds profound meaning to your personal journey. You're not just transforming your own life, but contributing to the evolution of human consciousness itself. Your awakening as a scholar serves not only your individual fulfillment, but the fulfillment of our species' highest potential, the invitation of infinity. As we reach the conclusion of this exploration, it's important to recognize that this ending is actually a beginning. You have not completed a course in manifestation. You have awakened to your true nature as a conscious creator. You have not learned techniques to get what you want. You have remembered your identity as the source of all you could ever desire. The scholar within you is fully awakened now, but this scholar is not separate from who you've always been. You haven't become someone new. You've simply remembered who you've always been beneath the layers of conditioning and limitation. You haven't gained power. You've reclaimed it. You haven't learned to manifest. You've stopped interfering with your natural manifestation abilities. This recognition invites you into a relationship with existence that is simultaneously humble and empowered, individual and universal, practical and mystical. You understand that you are both completely responsible for your experience and completely supported by infinite intelligence. The journey ahead is infinite, not because it never ends, but because it continuously deepens. Each day offers new opportunities to embody your mastery more fully, to serve your purpose more completely, and to explore your potential more courageously. You are no longer seeking the key to extraordinary life. You have become that key. You are no longer hoping to manifest your dreams. You are living them. You are no longer trying to become a master of reality. You are recognizing that you have always been reality itself, experiencing itself through the unique and precious lens of your individual consciousness. The scholar's journey continues, but now you travel not as a seeker, but as a finder, not as a student, but as a master, not as someone learning about consciousness, but as consciousness itself, awakening to its own infinite creative potential through the miraculous vehicle of your human experience. Welcome to your awakened life. Welcome to your infinite potential. Welcome to the endless adventure of conscious creation as the master of your reality. The end of seeking is the beginning of being. The completion of learning is the commencement of living. The achievement of mastery is the recognition that you have always been what you sought to become.